It makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'm going live, so we can discuss this. Sense.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'm going live, so we can discuss this.
But why is that called that?
Oh, there we go. I see it's loaded. We're live now.
Uh-huh.
Hello, everybody. Let's roll into the intro real quick, real fast, real hot, because we have a burning topic that we have uncovered that we have to discuss right away. So welcome to this. It's weird to call it live at the table, even though that's what the image here says.
Well,
but it is. We're live. We're at tables.
we're live, yeah. We're the people from the table.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're all
true.
sitting in the same place that we normally do.
Yeah, this is all true. This is our promise. This was our. Oh, I don't remember what tier this was. Was this?
I think it was like 115,000.
Yeah, that sounds right. One of our
something like
tiers
that.
from our fundraising stream a couple weeks back, where we said that if y'all pledge to a certain amount for abortion access, that we would do a stationary chat stream podcast kind of thing, one shot, because it's a thing that it's a thing I know I've wanted to do for a really long time, despite it having kind of very little to do with the general thing that we do. But particularly because Allie and I have often chatted amongst ourselves about like various, bits and pieces and enthused about our planners and stuff. And I know a lot of people in our audience also are into that stuff. And turns out there's some other cast members who maybe want to learn some stuff or have some things they're enthusiastic about themselves in this space. So it seemed like a fun thing to do. I'm Janine Hawkins, of course. I'm at Bleating Heart on Twitter. And I've also got here Dre.
Hey, hello. I'm on Twitter at Swandre3000.
And we got Keith.
Hi, my name is Keith J. Carberry. You can find me on Twitter at Keith J. Carberry. Find the Let's Plays that I do at youtube.com/runbutton.
And of course, we got Allie.
Hi, I'm Allie. You can find me over at Allie_West on Twitter. And you can find Friends at the Table over at Friends_Table.
So, the pressing topic, the reason we had to just like really launch into this. Keith,
Yeah.
why is stationery called stationery?
Okay. So, it is stuff that is belonging to or sold by a stationer. And then I had to ask, why are they called
What?
stationers? It's because they formerly were called so for occupying a stand or station in the marketplace or elsewhere. So a stationery is called stationery because a guy at a station sold it to you. Which was a joke that I made and then it turned out to be true.
Yeah, I had the same feeling. It was like a joke where I had it in my head and I was biting my tongue. I was like, I'm going to say, we don't want to burn pod.
Yeah.
And then it's like, no, that's just what it is. But the thing that's weird about that is like, isn't everyone stationary at a marketplace? Don't they all have
Right.
stands? Isn't that what a marketplace is?
Yeah.
This reminds me of another topic that we've talked about on Friends at the Table before, which is weird Rhode Island slang for things and the kind of old-timey, obsolete name for a
Cabinets. 'Cause
milkshake.
everything's in the cabinet.
Everything's in the cabinet, but for some reason the milkshake is called a cabinet because you keep a blender in a cabinet and use a blender to make a milkshake. So you call milkshakes cabinets. But then you could call soup a cabinet because the bowls are also in a cabinet. I don't know, but that's why it's called that. And stationery is also called that because a guy at a station sells it to you. Weird.
Yeah, yep, That's sure, it makes sense.
A stationer is also another name for a publisher or a bookseller. I guess you could also...
Okay, that makes, yeah.
But it's
Presumably because they
still-
also worked at stations.
They also worked at stations, yeah. Go to the stationery, get a burger, a pencil, a book.
Jar honey.
Why aren't burgers called stationery then? I'm like still stuck on that.
Yeah, I know. It really is bizarre.
Is a
It's gotta be...
I I have a question. We know that a hamburger is a sandwich, but is a hamburger a notebook?
Sure, you can write with ketchup.
Well, yeah, are you folding it hot dog style or hamburger style?
I mean, I'm just confused by the question because if it's not a notebook, what else would it be? So obviously a notebook to me.
Like a legal pad, like an A4 legal pad.
Oh, right. And those aren't
That's the
notebooks.
alternative to a
Yeah.
notebook.
Sure, that's an open face sandwich.
Loose leaf lettuce. Anyway,
The famous stationary divide, horizontal versus vertical opening. The blood
we'll get
spilled.
there. We'll get there. We'll get there. I've got a. I don't want to say an itinerary. That makes it feel a lot more structured than it is.
Yeah.
But I did literally the day that we announced this goal. Even like I think I was watching the stream while I was like typing it. Like, okay, what are the bases we want to cover here, or like attempt to cover? Just broad strokes. Nothing too particular. What's a natural flow of conversation? So we're gonna talk about paper. Don't you worry. It's
Okay.
gonna,
You have to talk about paper.
we have to. It's mandatory to talk about paper. But okay, why don't we should start with like the obvious thing, which is I think
I'm so excited to find out what the obvious thing about this is.
the obvious thing is like what's your relationship with what's everyone here's relationship with like stationery with their like
Okay.
office products and stuff, you know?
Okay, this
Where
is
did you
relational.
start
This
and like
isn't-
where are you at, you know?
Okay, got it. That is the obvious thing.
Yeah.
It would have been really funny if there was something that Janine you thought was the most obvious bit of
The
stationery
obvious
to
thing,
start
we all
with.
have to talk about it. The Kuru Toga mechanical pencil.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Hold on. How do I spell that? Let me pull it up here on Google.
No, this is we can talk about that later too. There's a spot for that if we
all
want
right,
to.
all right.
Ooh, that's nice.
This is a nice looking pencil.
Okay,
It
send
like
it to me
rotates the
now.
lead, but like I just got one. We're
Wait, we're
already so
skipping
far
the
off
first-
the itinerary.
Okay, what's everybody's experience with stationery?
What's
I'll
your
put a note
experience
here to
with
talk
me
about the
telling you
Kuru
about the Kuru Toga mechanical pencil?
My experience with stationery was most recently in grad school when I kept buying notebooks to take notes in, and then I would lose the notebook and have to buy another one, and then find my old notebook, and then I would just be juggling like 3 notebooks for the same thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Drain grad school sounds a lot like me from second grade through high school.
I mean, that too.
Yeah. Mine is I was way into back to school shopping
Oh
for
yeah.
my whole life. This was the season for me and it's the duality I think of the ADHD student to be extremely into notebooks and pens
Uh-huh.
and also medically incapable of putting them to good use.
Uh-huh.
So perpetually buying notebooks that I was definitely intended to use, and then would like you could see me slowly take less and less notes until I lost all my pens for the year, and then went noteless.
It's
and
very
then,
much like there's the I feel like I only cracked the code on this recently. Where is I'm opening my planner, would you believe it? Because I have to find this note. Right here it is. Okay. There's interest, challenge, novelty, urgency are the like things that like drive you if you have issues with attention span and focus and things like that. And I realized like big time back to school season. I also lived for back to school season. It was like it was the promise of a fresh start. It was the promise of, okay, slate is clean. All the mistakes of last year, I don't have to worry about that anymore. This time I can start fresh and I can stick to it.
Yeah.
And it has all this. It has the novelty. It has all of this of just like, this time you can do it is the promise. And you mix that, of course, also with, especially when you're young. For me, there was the element of like, I have my mom's undivided attention today. because she is sorting out all my back to school shit. So I'm getting a bunch of new stuff. It's a bunch of new stuff for an activity that I enjoy, and that this time I think I'm really gonna have it down. It's all gonna work out this year. It'll be great. It's just like that mix of shit is so intoxicating that even now when I can get shit whenever I want and there's no like arbitrary start point for my need for an office supply or whatever, I can still like kind of feel that feeling of just like it's new and we can start fresh, and it's like this that really juicy feeling of like reward and present and
Yeah. So this is an interesting conversation because when I think about like back to school stuff for me, I would only like stick to staples. Like it wouldn't be like, oh, every year I'm going to try out a different kind of notebook or a different kind of pen. I would be like, I'm getting my All-Star 5, 5 divider notebook, and I'm going to use it all year. And I know that I'm going
classic.
I'm going to use these for each class, and I'm going to get my G Pilot pens. And
I have a question. Now,
Yeah.
when you say you were sticking to staples, do you mean that as in the store?
No.
Okay.
I meant like picking the things that I know that I needed and that were going to be there for
Gotcha.
me. Yeah.
Okay.
Mom, just give me a bunch of staples this year for back to school.
I need
3,000
staples.
staples.
I mean, I know you meant like staples as in like these are my go-to things, but
You know what?
Yeah.
Staples has more stuff stationery wise and like a bigger range of stuff than you might think. Like,
Yeah, I stole my
yeah.
first fountain pen from them.
we're gonna be probably talking about a lot of specialty stuff today, but like, go to your local Staples and like check out what they have because you'll find some
I
stuff.
mean, also go to your local dollar store.
Yeah.
Dollar
Oh, yeah.
stores. I went to a. I was obsessed with dollar stores as a kid because my mom didn't like them for a lot of reasons that are bundled up in a lot of things. But like a few years ago, I went to a dollar store for the first time in a little while, and they just like had washi tape and alcohol markers and like all kinds of shit that is very
Oh.
expensive everywhere else. And it was like, oh fuck, okay, they're doing it. They're doing the thing. Good on them. You'd be surprised. What
alcohol markers.
You don't need to worry about alcohol markers, Trace. It's the whole thing.
Just
There's
wanna
also
know.
there's a quick thing. There's a bookbinding YouTuber named Sea Lemon, who has done a couple videos where she takes a notebook she finds at the dollar store that's like kind of banged up and would honestly maybe get thrown away. And then like she rebinds it and makes it really like cool looking. Highly recommend those videos. Very, very fun videos.
That sounds relaxing.
Yeah, she's great.
YouTube is a segue for the second half of my stationery story, which is like once I graduated, I stopped taking notes and stuff. But I want to say around the like 2016, 2017, like bullet journaling boom is when I started like being like, oh, I'm an adult now and I need things that I have to keep track of. This is also like when the Friends at the Table Patreon started, and I was like, oh, there's things to keep track of now.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I need to be, I'm not studious anymore in the way that I was, but like I still need some sort of guidance. And that was like big, like spending hours on YouTube watching people like review like 10 different notebooks.
Oh man.
And, like swatching different pens and being like, this is knowledge that I
Yeah.
need to be able to succeed, which is not completely
I love
true.
that
But
your approach to like pens and stationery and organization is like what I did when building a new computer.
basically, well,
If you're gonna spend, if you're gonna write 1,000, notes with one pen, you want to make sure it's a pen you enjoy using because it'll encourage you to
Yeah.
use
Sure.
it more and to keep up on your
Yeah.
notes. Like that's the other thing of it, right? Is that like the more you enjoy your supplies, the easier it can be to maintain that habit. If you struggle with the habit, that's how it's been for me, at least, where it's like I have a really wide array of stuff because I always want to be interested in what I'm using because it encourages me to keep up with it, right? Like because I don't think Canadian schools are the only ones that do this, but here they give you a planner and they make you use it. Like the teachers will check to make sure, at least at the time,
I had that
they
in
would
high
check to
school.
make sure
Yeah.
that you were using it. And they were really ugly planners, and they sucked, and I hated using them. And that was my relationship with planners for a long time.
Mm.
And when I didn't have to keep a planner, the thing that I did was I basically kept just a normal ass class schedule and then like a to-do list.
What's ass class?
And
Fucking got him, Keith.
damn, yeah, got me. um, but so I'd keep these big long to-do lists, and then because I totally have focus issues that I didn't really understand at the time, I would kind of just like never do the list, and I would just have to keep making new lists because I'd cross a couple things off, and then it would bug me that the list looked too messy, so I'd have to make a fresh list. And that list would just follow me, and I would just use it as a way to like beat myself up. This is one, literally, once I got a therapist, this was day one, was explaining the list situation and her telling me, how about you don't do that? But like along the way, I realized, like Allie, like, oh, I have shit I have to actually keep track of now. So I got into keeping a planner as a sort of creative outlet, but also a sort of organizational one, and one of just like, I like pens, I like notebooks, like let me put all this stuff to use. And that's been a lot more helpful than those to-do lists ever were. Especially like I still have to be careful about my listing habits. But like I've been able to find a planner where the layout suits what I need it to do, which is like it only has a very limited space for me to have those holdover tasks that I beat myself up about. And it has like the most important thing for me, again, as a person who like can lose track of time and what I'm doing, and also is very critical about my like output, is I have a column for like what I've done that day, just so I can look at it and not just see like what I wanted to do and didn't do, or like appointments that I had that just kind of go into a black hole in my mind once they're done. I can look and be like, right, I made lasagna and I folded my laundry and I, wrote 100 words in this like little whatever. Like being able to look at that stuff has been a really positive mental health thing for me, and has given me an excuse to buy more pens and stuff, even though I don't need more necessarily. I was gonna say, I realized this, I had this conversation with Austin recently, where another thing about Canadian schools, or at least my Canadian schooling, is we didn't have subject notebooks, like spiral bound notebooks, which led to me like kind of, I don't want to say fetishizing them, but kind of fetishizing them. Not just the spiral bound ones, but like those black and white composition notebooks
You didn't
that I
have those
saw
in
on
Canada?
TV all the time. We didn't. I had one once in my life. I bought it at the dollar store, and it had like a cardboard printed cover. And I like the second I picked it up, I knew it wasn't right. It didn't seem right.
Was it like
It
black and
wasn't
white
like what I'd
speckled?
seen on TV. Yes.
Yeah, those are the worst
But it
notebooks in the
looked-
world.
They're
It looked
they're
like
great.
it, and I wanted one so bad, but
Yeah.
you just could not get them up here at the time, because the thing that we did the thing that they encouraged us to do was binders with loose leaf 3-hole punch paper in them. And I realized the reason they encouraged us to do this is because we have a lot of handouts here. Like teachers would have a lot of materials they would photocopy
Yeah.
and hand out. And I realized through talking to Austin, like that's not the case at every school. Like that's I think a budget thing where, here there was very little concern for teachers about how much they were photocopying.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
So they would just photocopy huge packages for us and just hand them out, and we had to keep them in the binder. So a spiral notebook didn't make sense, which meant that spiral notebooks I got to associate with like, this is my personal notebook. Like I'm writing my fanfic in here or whatever. Like it was that kind of thing.
Janine, what you said, you found one of the composition notebooks and you said it was wrong. What do you mean by wrong? What was wrong about it?
It was like 2 pieces of cardboard.
Yeah.
Like
Because that's what those are.
Yeah.
Not. I just thought it was like. I thought they were. I thought it would be either like fully hardcover or fully soft cover, and it was like in between.
Yeah, no, that's the right. That is what those are.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They're like weird.
See,
They're just like
even to this
cardboard
day, I don't think I've
stapled.
like held one that like felt authentic.
Yeah,
Because
the
that one I
authentic
found
ones-
I found that one in a Canadian dollar store, so I immediately was like, "Well, this is fake. This is just supposed to
Feeling
look like one
like-
of them. This can't be
You
real."
were just
feeling like you're
expecting
being
something
ripped off
else.
is part of the experience of that kind of notebook.
Those were another standby. Do not. This is a composition notebook. Respect zone. I'm sorry.
Yeah, 100%.
Those are like
Hey,
they
look,
feel like
I-
shit. They're like flimsy. They're like badly bound,
So,
but they're
okay,
there
but
for
I wanna-
you.
I want to contrast this to Ratsnack in the chat said the word, and now I have to say the word. In Canadian schools, or at least I was in French immersion, so I can't say that this is true of like how they are treated in English classes. But in French immersion, the thing that you got handed out for if you had to do anything that was subject related, just like in a notebook, especially in grade school, was a cahier. Cahier, which just means like notebook. But if you look up, I'm going to see if I can find a good picture for you, Allie. The Hilroy cahier is like you can get like big tall ones, and those aren't correct. They're like weird little, I guess you would just call it an exercise book. It's hard to find a picture of the little short ones. I'll just find one that's like similar. But these things are like flimsy paper, like the cover on them is paper. It's not cardboard. It is just like a slightly stiffer than normal paper.
These look like, God, like we called them blue books. There was a different word for it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on.
I'm curious if these were like a thing for anyone else ever, other than like
I don't
weird
think I've ever seen that.
Canadians.
I was also in a French immersion program, and we did not have those.
I always wonder if this is like a budget thing too, because these were like school provided, you know? They just like hand them out at the beginning of the year, and it's like, this is your French cahier, this is your geography cahier.
Okay.
Again, in, like,
Ours,
grade
I think
school.
what I'm thinking of were the blue books that we got for like written exams. They weren't like an ongoing thing, like what you're discussing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That makes sense too. Or you get these for like projects. They had ones that were like half the page was lined and half was blank. So you'd like write like, it's like a project on like the medieval times, and it'd be like draw a knight and then say what the knight does. The knight travels on the horse to save people. Crap like that.
You don't say.
Yeah,
Tell me more
elementary
about this
school.
night.
These things I also just like every now and then, especially at the end of the year, if there were like a couple extras in the box, you could like the teacher might just give you one. I think I had one of these that I filled up with. This is a true Janine origin story that I feel like I've told before. But I had a notebook that in like grade 3 or 4 or something, probably 4. I filled up with just like a bunch of stories about like my classmates dying horribly and like in like spooky ways, like in like murder forests and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
Sure.
And I got one of the girls in the class told the teacher on me because I hadn't written a story about her yet. And she
Oh.
wanted me to write a
jealous?
story about her, so she told on me. And I remember
Wow.
the teacher just kind of being like, I don't know, whatever. Like this was the mid '90s, so there wasn't as much concern, I think, about students writing murder notebooks.
Absolutely. Yep.
So I wrote a very like milquetoast story about her going into the forest and getting like killed by a bear or something, just to like get her off my back.
I didn't have that in a notebook, but when I was a kid, my dad worked for like the tech branch of the school system, the public school system. And so I got a lot of like handoff like technology that they got from like sales reps or whatever and didn't end up actually like buying or using. And so I had an Apple, I'm Googling this to figure out, an Apple eMate 300
Oh boy.
that I used to write all sorts of fucked up stories in.
Oh, this thing is weird.
Yeah,
Little
this thing,
guy.
this thing ruled.
Apple eMate 300.
This is
Is this
like
like
a Palm
pre-Newton or
Pilot,
post-Newton?
but
I
lap.
Whoa.
This
think
is a
this
lap
is
pilot.
around the era of Newton, I think. Maybe it's post-Newton. I'm not sure.
I love this thing.
Yeah, this is a little buddy.
Beautiful
Yeah.
color, by the way.
Anyway, I remember when my dad told me he had to take it back to work, and I was like terrified because I was like, how do
no.
I delete all of my stories so that no one thinks I'm a psychopath?
Yeah, I guess the optics of like that's the other thing, right? Is like I was also like a nice little girl who was always really sweet to the teachers and brought them presents on Easter, and like I think even if I had been writing something really dodgy, I probably would have gotten some slack that I didn't really deserve necessarily.
Yeah,
It just feels like it's
Man.
easy to hand wave a kid like that.
I don't know how I forgot this, but I am now remembering that all through 7th grade, I just wrote tons of poems about dragons and would give them to my 7th grade English teacher.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Hey, I'm pretty sure you like dragons. You want my poem?
You look like someone who likes dragons.
I am 12 years old, and there's one thing that I'm sure of. It's that adults have the same relationship to dragons as 12-year-olds.
Oh,
Oh,
you probably
man.
made that person's year, though. That's amazing.
I hope
That's
so.
true.
Yeah.
I mean,
She
listen,
was
I
a
remember
good teacher.
distinctly in 7th grade, I wrote, I believe it was a poem from the perspective of a tennis ball. And my teacher thought it was amazing to the point of telling my dad about it. About how amazing he thought this. It was either a poem or a short story about just like a tennis ball, like in an. Not to make a giant Bob Dan Reichert joke, but an in-shaped tennis ball.
Sorry, what kind of tennis ball?
Dan Reichert once said that it was something like if he could become anything or something, it would be an in-play racquetball.
Jesus.
Was it
Buddy,
for the
just go to a
the sheer-
BDSM club like the rest of us.
Right? It's basically that, right?
Yeah.
I thought maybe it was just a
Anyway.
need for speed.
Oh yeah, maybe.
That's fair.
You're free, you're fast.
I mean, the
Then you could be like a
inertia
fighter
of
jet.
the inertia of going 45 miles an hour in one direction and in an instant going 45 miles in another direction, I think, is pretty appealing.
Yeah.
I mean, a fraction
Yeah.
of a second.
And I guess a ball wouldn't feel pain. You would just like feel the impact.
So
Yeah.
You
anyway.
could be a highlight ball, a lot less whacking, and you go pretty fast still.
Oh yeah, that's the one with the scoops, right? That would be fun.
Uh huh. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
those
that's the
things
one's the
go
most dangerous
real
sport in the
fucking
world.
fast.
Yeah. That's, yeah.
Anyway.
Lots to think about.
Yeah.
So the next stop on our itinerary. I'm curious
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
what everyone's favorite item / purchase or most used thing that they have is. Like this could be a thing where it's like, oh, this was my favorite pen ever and it broke, or this could be like, I bought a pen yesterday and it's really nice, and or I use this one every day. Like anything
Mhm.
in those lines. Like what comes to mind?
My daily driver pin for my job as a therapist, where I do a lot of writing, is the Sharpie like S gel pens.
Ooh.
Oh,
Because
sure.
I like they are cheap enough that like when I inevitably like lose them, I can buy them without feeling like terrible, but they still
Yeah.
write pretty
Mm.
well. And they don't bleed through too bad.
Yeah, that's
Which pen again? What was it, Dre?
The Sharpie S gel.
Sharpie has broadened out in such a commendable way.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I have a set of like Sharpie
Oh, these
felt
are
tip
good.
pens that are all like, they're not Sharpie ink, they're just like normal felt tip style fine liners, and they're solid, no
Yeah.
complaints.
I was from waiting tables for years. I have like a very broad but shallow experience with a lot of different pens that you can get at a Walgreens.
Oh, sure.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Get some
and
Pilot G2s.
yeah, oh, love a Pilot G2. I've always, since grade school, I've been a fan of the Uniball Vision and Vision Elite roller balls. Because they were the nicest to write notes with at school, and so that's what I used mostly at work. But you just end up with other people's pens and pens that you find. You just always need like 30 pens. I don't know if anyone hasn't weighted tables. I think 10 pen minimum is what you just have to have on you.
Yeah,
'Cause
that makes
you'll
sense.
it's really a 10 pen minimum job, and the pens that you accumulate are nuts. And I have definitely used the Sharpie Pen Stylo S Gel pens before. Those are fun. I like those. Gel pens really grew up since I was in second grade, and they were like
Yeah.
the
Oh.
in
Yeah,
kind of pen
you
to
can
Yeah.
still. I went down the gel pen rabbit hole again in a big way recently, and bought like I was looking for a set of like really good juicy metallic gel pens because I got like a set of plain color ones just because, and I just wanted like that really crisp shiny shit that I remembered from like grade 8. And all
Right.
those brands, the good brands are still around and they have not changed their packaging or anything. It was just like I picked it up, I was like, I remember this was the cool pen that my friend had that I always wanted to use, right? Like it was that exact thing of like,
The
fuck, they still make this and it's still good as hell.
the brand that I remember being popular when I was 7, the gel pen that I've used are the Papermate gel pens. They're like really like thick looking
Mhm.
pens, but they're basically just like pens with a couple very tasteful colors um, that are totally fine to write with in a normal situation. But the pens I remember being popular when I was 7 were and I don't know why this is what I think they're called, milky pens.
Yeah.
I don't
Yep.
Yeah.
and
Sarasa still
those
makes those, I think.
okay. That's what was super popular, and they were all really bizarre colors, like the
Mhm.
weirdest
Oh,
pink
they're
you've
like
ever
super
seen.
pastel-y.
And they're super
Mhm.
pastel-y, and and extremely saturated and very wet too.
That was when
Um,
like black paper became a really big thing, or like the 5-star fabric covered like zip up binders.
Yeah.
Gel pens were really
Oh,
big because you
yeah.
could write on those. You could only write on those really with gel pens or with whiteout.
This is
Um,
like a very old, very weird memory that I have of
mhm.
like liking these pens and knowing that I cannot have them because they are not pens for boys. I knew
Oh
innately that they were
yeah.
that no,
Mm.
I'll have my really terrible mechanical pencil that basically doesn't work
Oh
instead.
Horrible.
man.
Yeah.
Um, Ratsack in the chat just mentioned the multicolored gel pens. Sarasa also. I bought some of those like within the past year because I saw Sarasa selling them. I was like, oh fuck, I always wanted some of those, and now I'm an adult and I can just have them, you know. um, so for me, my like top pen is this one where the story behind it is that like I was always like really fascinated with fountain pens because they just seemed
Mhm.
very like cool and romantic. Um, but in the early 2000s, it was hard to get them unless you wanted to get like a $50 and up pen from a case at Staples.
Yeah. That I
At least
stole an
here.
$85 pen from, probably in the same time
Whoa!
period. Yeah.
So like I wasn't willing to do that obviously, and also all those pens are like really chunky, and I don't like a chunky pen that much.
Yeah.
But so I would like eventually I got a credit card, and eventually I went on eBay and started looking at pens, and I found this line of pens that were like plastic body but had like cute prints on them, and they were these fountain pens that just like really slim and sleek and cute, and I got 2 of them and was obsessed with them like through university, and then just like kind of forgot about them. I forgot what they were, for like what the barrel cracked on one of them because it's fucking plastic. And then I came back to them like a couple years ago, just like I need to figure out what this fucking pen is, because every few years I would remember the design on one of them said latte macchiato, and I would just like search for like latte macchiato pen or whatever, and it was really fucking hard to find anything. And eventually I figured out that these pens had been like a special edition of a Parker Vector. And you can get Parker Vectors now, and they're cheap. It's like a $15 fountain pen. And they are slim, and they're very pleasing. I'm a big fan of a medium, like a Western medium nib, like a really juicy nib. And theirs is like one of my favorites there. And I got just like a plain stainless steel one, and it's just a really nice, like, standard workhorse, like a lot of people want their Lamy Safari or whatever, but if you want like a thin pen in terms of like a relatively cheap entry point, the Parker Vector is a very charming option.
Yeah, these have like
colors,
a really sleek look to them that is
Yeah.
is like, it feels like I, sorry to everybody else here, but I sometimes think of a fountain pen as like a little pretentious, just because I've never like
Yes.
made
No,
that. Yeah.
100%. Allie, I'm so pretentious. It's okay.
Yeah, fountain pens are extremely pretentious.
Okay.
I have a dip quill. I have a quill pen, like a feather quill with dip nibs. I've never used it,
Very
but I
funny.
have it because,
Oh,
again, it's one of those things of
man.
like, I'm an adult now. I can just live my dream. I can just live the dream I've had since childhood.
Hey,
It is pretentious.
so like if I wanted to get one of those, like what are we?
Oh, they're everywhere. I don't know that they're. Listen, okay, so the real thing is the feather is fun, but if you want to fuck around with a dip pen, just get a nib holder. Like, you can get really nice
Yeah.
nib holders that are just like wood. They're just like carved, polished wood. They're really cute, and then it comes with a nib, and you can dip it in the ink, and it's fun. It's just fun.
Yeah, the nibs
They're
have
just
like
fun.
tines, and you slot it into the wood
Yes.
or into like a little. They have
Ooh,
weird
Like a metal grippy thing.
metal grip that comes off. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's fountain pens are almost everyone that is into fountain pens gets into them out of some sort of pretension, I think.
I think
Or
so.
that's not true.
Or
There's
being
also
old.
nostalgia. Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
being old and being like, when I was a kid, they only had fountain pens. Is the other way of doing it, because that's also true.
Or I
but
mean,
there is also
this is true within our culture. Not like in Japan, you can get disposable fountain pens in bright colors, just like normal. Like, I have
Yeah.
one in front of me that I ordered from Japan when I was in university because I became the person who used imported disposable fountain pens for a bit. They just have them there, and it's not weird. Sorry, Keith. What were you gonna say?
Oh,
though?
there is an explosion of extremely cheap fountain pens that are like
Yes.
not the disposable ones, but
But
mostly
like 10 to 20.
Yeah, mostly but not exclusively from China, mostly but not exclusively like clones of other more popular brands also.
Yeah.
But there's like a ton of pens that are just like, yeah, there's just like 90,000 $15 like acrylic fountain pens that
Mm-hmm.
is
All the
all
like
anyone would
Jinhaos
need
and stuff.
if-
Although
yeah,
Jinhao's like
yeah.
relatively, some of those brands have become like. Jinhao's a good example where the first time I started seeing that, I was like, oh, this is just another one of those like random label like AliExpress pens or whatever.
And
And then
were.
people started being like, well, this is my 5th Jinhao, and I think this one's my favorite, even though I like them all. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
all right,
Yeah.
shut me up.
Because the secret about the fountain pens is that there's not many places that make nibs or feeds for fountain pens, which if you've never thought about a fountain pen, the way they work is they have a feed that through capillary action brings ink through the feed into the nib, and then it's basically a controlled drip is how it works, where it only works when you're pressing down on it slightly on the paper. There's not many places in the world that make the interior parts of a fountain pen, and so what happens when you have a $15 fountain pen is that a lot of the functioning parts of it are the same as if you had spent
Yeah.
quadruple or
They're coming from the
quintuple
same
that.
place.
They're coming from the same place. So if you don't mind that the body of the fountain pen was made with is made from plastic of a different company that charges less for pens, then you're pretty much fine, and you're getting kind of the same
There's
pen.
some that are like, I know there are some Japanese brands in particular who make their own hardware. But that's also when you start talking about pens that are like $150 and up, usually
Yeah.
Whew.
that's the thing. Um, it yeah, it's
Fountain pens is the name of my game right now. By the way, that is the thing that I
Oh.
know the most about and care the most about.
mhm.
Mm.
Yeah,
They're fun. Listen, I mean, if there's a lot there's a lot of I think there's a lot more variety in fountain pens than I think people will give them credit for, even though they are kind of pretentious or can be. But like,
Mhm.
it's nice to. It is bottom line. It is often just nice to have a pen where you can put any fucking ink you want in it, and it's not like a cartridge based thing. It's like, well, I use this ink for a week, and I'm sick of it. I'm gonna flesh this out and replace it with something new, and like,
Mhm.
I don't
Yeah.
have to, throw a cartridge around, or I can just, fill up a little thing. It's fun.
I really like. I feel like in the last couple years they've become increasingly popular, but the demonstrator pen trend, which is a pen
Yeah.
that you can see into, and instead of using a cartridge, you have like ink sloshing around in there. It's fun to
Instead of
have
using a
ink
cartridge
sloshing
or a
around.
converter, even it's just
Right,
like
or a converter. It's
directly
just the
in the
bot.
pen.
The
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, most fountain pens use either a cartridge or a cartridge-like thing called a converter, which is like a syringe that you put ink in and then screw it into the feed. But
Mhm.
there's a bunch of pens increasingly that are just like, yeah, put the ink right in
Yeah.
the bottle. There's an O-ring to keep
I
it from
have
leaking, and
a TWSBI demonstrator that's like on the chunky side, so I don't maybe use it as much, but it is still like it's such a like no fuss thing in a way where
yeah,
it's like part of my mind I'm always like, oh, the converter's gonna leak if I'm like rough on this or whatever. Like I always have this little bit of worry about something leaking or whatever. And the demonstrator is just kind of I don't know, something about it could of course still leak. There's no reason it couldn't. But um they do just kind of feel like a little like it's all encapsulated and fuss free, like it's just they're cool to look at, like
they're very cool to look at. You want to hear one of my indulgences? I bought a TWSBI, and I was like, this is way nicer than I thought it was going to be for $35.
mhm
And so my first thought was I should get a second TWSBI then. And so I got one of the ones that has the vacuum filler,
mhm
which you put the ink, you submerge the tip in an ink well, and you pull the piston up, and it like sucks up a bunch of ink in a second. It's bizarre.
Ooh.
I don't know why it does this. It is not useful that it does it, but I do really love to use the weird vacuum filler on the TWSBI pen.
yeah, I think mine's just a plain old twist, like a twist top
Yeah, that's my
one.
other one is a
Yeah. um I guess that brings us. Wait, has everyone? Allie, did we get your favorite item slash purchase most used?
Oh, I didn't, but so when I was like preparing for this, and I've been in a place
Mhm.
now where like I haven't been using my supplies as much and like have to go through them and replace stuff, so I'm glad that we're doing this now. But I was like, if I had to get rid of everything and only could rebuy one thing, it is the Crayola Super Tip marker.
Oh
Standby.
yeah.
What
Ooh.
is this?
Oh,
Yeah,
I love that.
accessible, can get them everywhere. I
They're cheap.
They're dirt
Last
cheap.
for a
Yeah.
long time.
Last for a really long time. Are really easy to use in like a planner setting to do like layouts and things like that. Are just as good to reach for like if I'm signing a Christmas card or something like that. Like
Yeah.
can fit into a lot of different writing needs in my life that I was like, yeah. I mean if you're in like stationary like YouTube spaces, quote unquote, or whatever, I'm sure that you're not like
Mhm. The super
surprised
tips
to
are
hear
like,
this, but like
yeah.
if not, like go to Target. Like they're a standby. Like go to the dollar store and get them.
The the like
Yeah.
pitch on the super tips for anyone who isn't familiar is that they have a tip that kind of it's sort of, I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of like an angular bullet nib, but it's got a bit of a hook to it, right? So it's like you can write with the wide flat side. You can write with the point. You can kind of write with the like curved bit. Like you can basically get 3 or 4 different line widths out of this one marker tip. They're also really flexible. So
These were
they're really popular for like modern calligraphy folks because they're very spongy and flexible.
Am I wrong that these were maybe really big in like art class when I was in school? Like I feel like I've seen these before.
Yeah,
Like,
I feel like they're like a staple, like a staple, like
You can get them
school
at Staples.
supply sort of thing. Like
Okay.
during
I
back
think
to
sure
they
if
came
school
out
maybe
with
this was
super
something
tips
different than-
specifically maybe after I was in school because I think they had like Crayola had like skinny markers forever, but I don't remember their tips being like as like big and squishy.
Okay, yeah, maybe there is something different going on with the tips.
because I feel like the like chunkier Crayola markers, like the thicker ones, still have
Yeah.
that sort of tip, but because the like angle on it is so much wider to like make up for like this like twice as wide marker, like you don't have that like fun variation in terms of how you're holding it, because you're just gonna get like kind of a wide line either way.
Yeah, it also just I don't know I don't know why I don't like using thick pens and stuff or like thick markers. I don't know why. Because I think a lot of the time that gets associated with like quality or like a product for adults is like, wow, look how like thick and like
Sturdy.
ergonomic this and sturdy this pen is, and it's like I don't want any of that. I want a thin marker, I want a thin pen. I want all that stuff thin.
It just it feels like it's uncomfortable over time, right? Like I mean, maybe I have small hands or whatever, but like I like because one of the pen things that I tried to get into and like had to back out was like getting customizable like multi tip pens. And I was like, I'm gonna get one of these. I remember specifically the one time I was in Japan and in a stationery store. When I was Star Wars role playing on AOL Instant Messenger, what I would do is change the text color for each of my characters. And then I went to Japan and I was like, I'm going to get one of these multi pen tips where they're selling all of the like cartridges individually. And I'm going to get one for each of my characters that matches the AIM color that I'm going to like write fan fiction in my journal. And I hated using it. So I never did.
Because they're huge, right?
They're really big. There's like, like if you only want 3 colors instead of 6
I'm
or 7
holding them in my
colors or
hand
whatever.
right now. I have one in each hand, one 3-color Sarasa Select in each hand. And they are like just about as so the problem isn't just the thickness, it's the hollowness too, right? Where it's like it's like thick, but also you feel all that empty space in there and it's kind of weird. The Sarasa Select 3 is like as big as I can go. I think I have a 4 or 5 color one. And it's just like I despise using it. It just there's a lot more like you can feel the ink cartridge like flexing when you write, and like I don't know.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel as sturdy as something like this would want to be, especially if it's like something you're customizing. Like going off of the fountain pen conversation, like the hand feel of those is probably so much better, but you're getting all of this customization because it's just ink that you're putting in there, right? Whereas like by forcing all of this into like a unit and it's going to be this one convenient thing, like it just doesn't, you're better off just carrying like 3 pens around. I will say
Are these ones with like the clicky, like the at the top there's like you click one down, you click the other one down.
The only one that I still have that I actually really like is a Uniball one that came for free with a Hobonichi notebook. This is just a 3 black, blue, red one. I don't like Hobonichi notebooks, but I really like this pen. So I treasure it and make sure I hold on to it.
I'm making a note for us to talk about Hobonichi notebooks. Because I think we maybe have some similar thoughts there.
I have
The,
no
uh,
idea
Pretentious
what that
thought.
is, so I
You're
can't
gonna
wait to
turn
see
the
that.
crowd on us.
The other thing about big pens, the fountain pen thing, because of the inherent pretension to them, they're always making them really, really big. That's a huge thing. Is like massive, oversized fountain pens that people get because I don't know,
This is
some
like a
weird
desk
status
pen,
thing.
right? Like, yeah,
Yeah,
it's like you
Oh.
get it in a set with like a mechanical pencil or a rollerball pen or something. It's in a little box and you put it on your desk or whatever.
yeah,
And it's a thing for you to hand to a client when they sign a contract or some shit. And I don't care.
yeah. I like small pens. One of the nice things about fountain pens is that there's so few small ones that it's easy not to buy a lot of pens because most of them are too big. They're not comfortable.
Ooh.
I really like
Yeah.
um oh my god, the Kaweco Sport ones, the see-through ones. Those are my favorites. Those are teeny tiny little tiny.
I've never tried one of those. I got a Quaco pen recently just because I felt like weird about not having one. Which is a good reason to buy a thing.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
wasn't a Quaco Sport though, because the sports have
Oh.
always like kind of not creeped me out, but like the shortness of them makes me feel like I'm gonna hate it, you know? Like for me the length of a pen is a selling point. Like there are pens that I've bought specifically because they're slightly longer than normal, and I'm like, ooh.
Well, they're normal size when you put the cap on the back.
Yeah, but that's hollow. That's like empty weight, right? Like, yeah,
No,
I'm
the
holding,
whole thing
like,
is so light that it doesn't, and also it's more plastic. So they make the
yeah.
cap heavier, and so it
I think
feels
that's the
very
thing.
normal weighted, I think.
This Coeco I have is also like I bet it's the same plastic. It's just like a longer pen body, because the pen cap posts pretty deep on it. So I suspect it's a similar length. And it's just like
What is
I'm
it?
glad I tried it. I don't remember what one this is, because it's just like
Well, I mean, it's another one that
in
is like
gray. I
the
forget the brand, the
the
type.
the price tags on fountain pens are kind of stupid because it leads me to say things like, it's not that bad. It's only $25 to try one out, which is like,
Perkeo.
if
It's
what
the
you're trying
Coeco
to
Perkeo is the one
okay,
that I got.
if you're trying to use a pen in a practical sense, spending $25 on one single pen sounds insane. But that's just where we're at. Sorry, bye. Oh yeah, I've seen these. Yeah, it's funny. I
Yeah,
look at these and they look wrong because they're way too long.
it writes nicely, you know, so like I can
Yeah.
get it from that front. And also like if you want a fountain pen that you can keep in your pocket or your purse, like I get it from that angle too.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know that it's like the thing I'm after. Although again, like it is I would have been so happy when I was younger to have to have as many options in the like $10 to $20 range for fountain pens as there are now. Like good pens too. Like even if you don't want a plastic body pen, you can get the what's it? The Platinum actually does a bunch. I think it's Platinum.
Yeah, they have
do a
those
bunch of,
$5
like-
preppies. Yeah.
No,
Oh.
are the preppies.
Yeah, those are like $6 or something like that. I thought.
No, I'm thinking of the Pilot Metropolitan.
What is that?
The Pilot Metropolitan is a really nice all metal pen. It has a lot of like pretty designs. I don't want to link you in anything in particular almost because there's just like a lot of cool looking. Well, this is good. I'll link this.
Ooh.
I guess it's
Oh.
not all metal. I think the whatever that part is plastic, but they're very like they feel like a hefty high quality pen and came out at a time where a lot of your options in that price range were more in the sort of vein of a Lamy Safari, which is a good pen but is a plastic pen. And if you wanted something metal and substantial, it felt like you had to go higher than that price point. This is extremely not true now, as evidenced by the Parker Vector that we showed later or earlier and all that. But this is like I think the first fountain pen I got that I was like really, really into this pen in particular, and not just the idea of a fountain pen.
I never used them, but another metal pen. I think they're like 20. I think they're $20. The Muji pens.
Oh,
So
Muji, the like home goods store.
Yes.
we have to talk about Muji.
We
Okay.
do.
I've
We
never
have to
used
talk
a
about
Muji pen. I just
Muji.
know that those like $20 Muji fountain pens are metal.
I
and
would
do
really
like
like to try their fountain pen.
I had no
But-
idea they had fountain pens.
So
Get
I don't
ready,
live-
everyone.
I don't live anywhere near where there's no Muji near where I live, but I kept hearing people talk about the fucking Muji gel
Is this
pens.
MUJI?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
People would not shut up about the Muji gel pens.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know what? I want a gel pen to impress me. I need a black pen to impress me because at that point I was using like weird gel pens that came in like kawaii subscription boxes and shit like that. Just like whatever I had, I would just use until it ran out and then I would chuck it out. So despite my love of pens, like because a lot of fountain pens you can't really use in planners because they bleed through and it's like it's hit and
Yeah,
miss,
you have to get a
depends what planner
specific
you're
kind of
using.
paper.
Sure.
It depends. That's also we can get to that later. But so I went and like got a 3-pack of these Muji gel pens, and it was like they were like stupid expensive because I had to order them like from a third party and it was all marked up. Not stupid expensive, but more expensive than they should have been. Not $1, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on the last one now, finally. And I really just do not like them because I bought them and because they're okay. It's just like I feel like I have to use them. But a thing that I had happen with the 2 previous pens of this 3-pack is that like once the ink gets down to like I want to say a quarter of a barrel left, they just start skipping like crazy.
Oh,
They start skipping
hate
like
that.
fucking crazy because it's I guess like the pressure in the ink cartridge isn't as good or something. But they just start skipping like wild. And also the other thing that drives me crazy about them is that they are really, really nice on some kinds of paper, but that is not the paper I'm using most of the time. Like the paper, you know, if anyone here's into paper stuff and likes Rhodia, they're really nice on a Rhodia paper. But Rhodia doesn't, as far as I know, make like a planner that I use. They make like notepads and stuff. So it's really pleasant to write with it on a Rhodia notepad. But if I'm using it in my planner, it's just like completely average. It's deeply average. It's very upsetting.
Rhodia does have a planner, but I don't know if the layout of their planner is what you're after.
Yeah, I feel like it would be like, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of following for them with like bullet journaling, but planner layouts are particular. So
It is interesting how much of like a quote unquote like fashionable pen the Muji gel pens are when like
yeah, it was bullet journal YouTube, bullet journal TikTok. Like I think it's.
I mean they
that
are
sort of
gorgeous and the
scene.
colors that they come in are really nice. I haven't like invested in like a multicolor set or whatever, but if I'm like going to Muji, we'll talk about Muji in the organization section. I will sometimes like go into a Muji and just be like, I'm gonna buy a single pen or like buy a single highlighter, and it's like
As a treat.
yeah, and it's never like my go-to pen, but it's just like nice to be like, oh, I have this other sort of color that I can reach to sometimes, but they're not like the workhorses that like I think people make them out to be. I think it's like videos of people swatching them are popular. You know what I like? Sometimes
$1
YouTube is
pen.
that. Yeah.
It's like it's a $1 pen. You can do a lot worse.
Yeah.
You can also do better. Like it is if you need to walk in someplace and you want to buy a pen that will do just fine. It's that. But like people talk about them like they are the be all and end all of gel pens. Which like
My favorite made gel pen
fine.
never skipped. That was I don't know how much they cost. I stole them all.
uh-huh. Which gel pen was that?
Papermate gel pen.
Oh yeah.
The like the ones that like tubes, Ink Joy.
Oh, sure.
They're very boring. I use them for waiting tables all the time.
Mm.
They used to sell them. The thing was that they used to sell them.
Oh, these are so good though. I remember using these a lot when I worked at Best Buy too.
Yeah.
Just for like taking notes and like the back room type
Oh
stuff.
yeah. Yeah.
They used to sell them in 5-packs, and I would buy the 5-packs, and then they started selling them only individually and at a higher cost. Like it was to
That's
buy
annoying.
5 of them was the same price to buy like 2 of them individually, and I was like, I'm just taking these. I do this for work. I'm taking this. Sorry, CVS. Sue me.
Yeah, it's okay. I've known some people who have worked at CVS's, and I'm sure they would be fine with you stealing from them.
I feel like the other thing that we just like have to, or at least I have to bring up here is the friction pens. Has anyone else here used
yes.
Friction pens. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I
these
love
I like
them.
found them back when I
Friction
was
with
in
an
school.
X.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, these look very 90s.
They're so
So okay,
good.
ignore the ones with the
whoa.
tattoo art on them. They're not.
Okay.
they're not-
Okay.
You can get them without that. The ones that they sell domestically often seem to have that, but all the Japanese ones don't. So I remember when I
they?
was like a kid, an erasable pen was a lie and it was bullshit.
Uh-huh.
Oh. Wait, are they
yeah,
no
yeah,
longer
yeah.
lies and bullshit?
No.
Welcome to
I've
the
heard this
friction pen.
before.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
I've heard.
Okay.
They come in highlighter form and they also make markers. And the way that it
Ooh.
works is that it makes them, I think, less than ideal for people who live in super, super hot places or who leave their stuff in a car or something. But the way that it works, the friction of the plastic on the ink makes it translucent.
Wow.
It makes it invisible functionally. And it
What?
will reappear if you freeze it, for example. Cold makes the ink visible again. But,
Wait, what?
yeah.
That's
Fucking
bad.
Harry at
OPSEC.
the spy pen right here. Let's
Yeah.
fucking go.
I use these things like I use them so much. They became my go-to. Like they're the like unsung hero of my planner because what I do with them is I don't like using pencil because I find pencil very messy. I only use pencil when I'm doing art stuff. I don't like using pencil in my planner. It's smudgy, doesn't erase good. I don't know. But I use the friction pens whenever I have to like slot something in advance, but don't want to have to fuck around with like, because I'm a planner person and I do layouts and I do designs and I do whatever. If it's something where it's like, okay, September 3rd, this game is coming out or this thing is happening or I have this appointment, I'll use the friction pen, I'll scribble it in. And then when I get to the stage of like, okay, that's next week, I'm working on my layout, I can erase it, I can put it in all nice and whatever. But until then, it's like in there. It's, the info is there.
That's
and then it's
crazy
gone.
because those old erasable pens that we had in school were so terrible with the
So
blue
bad.
Mm-hmm.
erasers.
I don't
I mean,
understand what the point of them was.
The point was to
destroy
have
paper.
What was the goal? What was the
Well,
like?
they technically worked. They did
To
technically
make you have to redo your homework after you rip your paper in half trying to erase something.
I've definitely ripped some paper with them, but I'll say that going gently, I was able to sufficiently erase things. The problem for me wasn't that it didn't erase well enough. It's that the writing experience, it was like writing with glue. It was so
Yeah.
horrible
Oh, yeah.
and sticky.
Yeah, they're very sticky.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
ink
you had
was
to
really
press down
bad.
so hard. It was a nightmare. I mean, it was terrible.
I'm glad that you reminded me of the friction pen because they are really like a huge standby for me. What I would do when I was bullet journaling more was I would like choose the colors for the month and I would like set aside the like 3 markers and the like 2 gel pens and the friction pen for the month because I had 1 purple one and 1 dark green one, and because I overlap with the colors a lot, like those would usually fit in, and they would get used every single month, and it was like a really easy pen to use, and they erase like actually really good. I remember when
Yeah.
I first bought them, I was like, but what if it gets really hot in my office and I lose all my notes? And like that was never a problem.
No, I think it's like if you leave it in a car, it's that kind of hot. It's like
Mm.
uncomfortable hot
Hmm.
that it becomes an issue. Um, I will say I have the highlighters. I thought the highlighters are fine, and then I started using the mild liners, which are not erasable, but are a popular bullet journaling community highlighter choice. And it kind of ruined the friction highlighters for me because there's like a kind of not waxiness to the ink, but it just feels like it. I mean, well, so the thing is like it doesn't sink into the paper, right? Like that's part of the way it works is that it doesn't sink into the paper. It just kind of stays on the surface of the paper a little bit.
You can
So
sometimes like
when
still
you're
see
putting it
the
on, it just
yeah, you'll still see like the pen stroke sometimes because it does have sort of like a
yeah.
sharp tip.
Especially if you go over it, if you go back and forth over it with the marker, sometimes the friction of the tip of the marker will kind of have the erasing
Mm.
effect on the ink. So it's hard to like make it look smooth and nice and like really opaque. So it's like, it's okay. I don't know that I'd recommend them as strongly as the pens. The pens are like,
Like
the pens are, the
they
pens are
fulfill
so
the
tough.
promise is what it is. Like
A thing that's like really upsetting to me, and this is gonna sound really wild, especially given all the shit I just talked about pencils, is that like I got like a full color set of the friction pens from Jet Pens, like a Japanese set with none of the horrible branding. It's like a bunch of colors. I loved it. The pen I ended up using 9 times out of 10 was the gray pen. And I used that gray pen up, and I can't find the gray pen on its own because who uses a gray pen? Who uses a gray erasable pen? Specifically,
I love that
who does
though.
that?
That feels like so because you want like the brain like satisfaction of being like, oh, I'm writing in a notebook with a mechanical pencil. Like I was a big mechanical pencil took me through high school, right? Like
Oh,
that was like the only thing that I used. I didn't love that the graphite would get everywhere, but I was like, this is the most comfortable version of doing this for me. So like the like brain worms that using like a dark gray erasable
Yeah.
pen would give me, I might end up buying one of those big packs to refill
Wait,
my pens at the end of this.
should we talk about the Kurotoga now?
I guess so. Yeah.
this sounds
Kurotoga
so
mechanical
illicit
pencil.
when you say it like
Yeah,
that.
I'm very curious.
It's famous. It's
I
a
didn't-
famous
I did
mechanical
not know
pencil.
Okay.
this. I've been out the
Um,
game.
It is a mechanical pencil that so the one that I got recently
I need a link,
is
by the way. We got to show the people.
right, yes. I'll show you the specific one I got even. I'm gonna do a Google search for Kurotoga Your Forger.
Your forger?
Wait, you got a special Spy
I got
X
a
Family
spy.
pen?
I got a Spy Family Kurotoga. I can't find the Your Forger one. I can only find the Lloyd one, which I don't like as much.
I'm so happy to know you.
Sorry, what is this crossover?
Spy Family is a recent manga anime that seems really popular. I haven't checked it out yet. I regret that I have not.
It's so good.
I-
I watched
Yeah,
the
I
full
haven't
thing.
watched it
all
either,
that I've
but-
heard,
We
yeah.
were,
haven't
Austin and
heard
I were
of it.
watching it week by week, like chomping at the bit. 1 week, the subtitle, the dubbed episode was delayed, and it was like someone had personally done us harm. Anyway, it's a tiny picture, but this will have. No, this isn't. This is some other anime. Fuck off.
Oh, I think I have it.
Kurotoga engine. Oh, it's got an engine in there.
So the thing with the Kurotoga is that I think every time you click it, it rotates the lead so that it wears evenly.
What?
I believe it's when you click it. I know there are some that I know there are some that do the same thing, but it's every time you tilt it to like write with it, it'll rotate the lead. So I want to say I've looked at this thing and I've like clicked it and tried to see the lead rotating, and I kind of don't see it. So I'm not sure if the one I got is a dud or if it happens so subtly that I just like can't really tell.
Well, like,
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, okay. Pseudonym says it's when you pick it up from the page that it rotates.
oh
So
my
that's why when I click it,
God.
nothing's happening.
Oh,
What?
so it's every
Um,
word.
yes. So it is
God, or
constantly,
even
as you're
letter.
using it, rotating it so you never get that flat edge, sharp edge thing with mechanical pencils.
What the
Oh.
fuck?
The other ones
Uh-huh.
are really nice
Okay.
too.
That doesn't sound real.
Yeah, surely this technology could not exist.
There's a really good we mentioned jet pens a few times. Jet pens is a great resource. Like, not even if you do not want to buy anything from them, because their international shipping can be kind of expensive. Um,
Uh-huh.
they are a great resource just in terms of like the videos they put out. They did a
Mm-hmm.
video about over-engineered mechanical pencils, like over-engineered Japanese mechanical pencils that are all specifically like, hey, if you're worried about the lead breaking, here's this one that has a sheath over the lead so that it just physically can't break, but as you write, the sheath moves like on its own. I think I have this one, but I got it like by accident. Um, and it just looks like a pencil where the lead hasn't been pushed to the tip yet. But when you, oh yeah, there, see, it's rotating. Uh, so when you write with it, it just like works, even though it looks like it's like the lead's not
Wow.
out. Like, um, there's there's a lot of like really wild mechanical pencil technology happening everywhere else but here.
Have they fixed the thing where it's like, even though you have like a big thing of your lead left, it's the weird length where it's not long enough for it to
Yes.
work and it
Yes,
just gets
there's
stuck in the
literally
pencil?
yes,
Okay.
there's literally one for that that's like the amount of lead it requires to grip is like a fraction of what the normal pencils need. Yes, there's also one of those.
Wow.
I need to look into this because, like, the Bic mechanical pencil, like, I would not have graduated if it didn't exist. Like, that was my pencil.
Just because it like was so satisfying to use, is that the main thing?
I think so. It was just like there was, I guess, the back to school thing of being like, you know, you can get a lot of them, but they were all basically the same. They sold them in this like little bags, so it's not like the packaging
Mhm.
was like
Yep.
super complicated, and it was like, oh, I have my like 5 pencils for the year or whatever, and like if you lost one or you needed to replace one, it was really easy to do. And it was just like I guess the like idea of the spin is really interesting, but also there's like the like satisfaction of using a pencil and being like, this is used, when you see that really sharp edge. That I was like, oh, okay, I've gotten through a class or whatever. But it was just like, I still sort of feel this way where it's like, once I find something that I find it that I like, I will stick with that instead of being like, oh, well, let me check out this different version of it.
So like Pseudonym in the chat brings up Pseudonym says, I need pencils to be as smooth as possible because if there's even an inkling of scratchiness, it sets my teeth on edge. This is the thing that always kind of did not make me like mechanical pencils, despite the fact that I have a few now, and like I've been like experimenting with lead holders, which hold like a really big chunk of lead, not just like a little it's like a big
oh,
it's like a pencil width thing of just pencil lead in like a mechanical grip thing. It's kind of it's fun for art, not for writing. But I hated mechanical pencils so much because on the one hand they were really tidy and often really cute, but I felt them gouging the paper, and it just kind of like it just like I didn't like it.
yeah.
It's just like something about it. And also the eraser would run out so quickly, and it was just like this teeny tiny little nub of an eraser, and also the pencil would write so deeply in the paper that you had to really erase hard to like get it to lift properly. Um and that always like really put me off and made me like prefer just a normal ass pencil. I think I still do prefer just a normal ass pencil. Like I got some black wings a couple years ago because again, I'm an adult and I can buy things that I want now. And they have like that flat eraser that's like replaceable. You can pull it out and pop a new one in, and like, man, that's great. It's good. It's fun. It's nice.
The thing that was weird about mechanical pencils is that the size that got popular was such a low diameter.
Yeah.
They've always
Teeny
made
tiny.
they've always made bigger diameter lead for mechanical pencils. They're just harder to find. And I think most of the problems with mechanical pencils get solved when you just have a thicker bit of lead in there.
Yeah.
It
I think
won't
that's
gouge
why
as
the
deeply
lead
and it
holders
won't.
have been intriguing to me, because
Yeah.
it's like I
I
have
have a
one that
lead
just like
holder.
looks like a mechanical pencil, but when you look at the end of it, it's like that's a whole ass fucking other tiny pencil inside of it,
Yeah,
basically.
it's huge. It's the bit. I have one lead holder that I got as a gift, and the piece of lead is gigantic. I have not had a chance to use it because
I'm gonna get you a picture,
I just
Allie,
don't use.
Okay, thank you.
because we keep just saying lead holder like it's a thing.
Yeah. Imagine if a crayon was made out of pencil lead, and that there was a device that gripped that crayon.
Ooh.
You can get really, really thick ones. I'm gonna give Allie this link to this one that's just like the really standard, like normal mechanical pencil sized one. The Staedtler.
Yeah, this just looks like a.
But if you look at the tip, it's like
Oh, that's full lead. Well, yeah. I mean, that's
Yeah.
like, huh?
It's full lead.
Do you
full lead,
sharpen
baby.
it at all, or is it just the natural
Yeah,
writing
there's like a hole in the cap, and you can sharpen the tip of the lead in that.
in the cap?
Yeah, because it's just got like a little edge in it that sharpens the lead for you if you want it
Wow.
sharp.
Huh?
Oh, mine doesn't have
And
that.
like it has little like grabby hands to hold it. Like when you press the thing to extend the lead, it's like these little, I don't know what to call them other than flanges.
Oh, sure. You can see the like scratch marks in the lead on this like bigger picture
Yeah.
that you sent. Love it.
Eastern Folly in the chat points out you can also use sandpaper. Yeah, that's why you'll sometimes see
Oh,
like
sure,
little
sure,
pads
sure.
of sandpaper with staples, and you can scratch it up a little bit. And this one is the Staedtler Mars Technico. I had been looking at these for a while and ended up finding one on Amazon where like they were all listed like weirdly expensive, and it was like really strange. But then I found one that was listed as like, sorry, I need to look up what this was actually listed as because it was wild. It was like bookends or some shit.
Oh, Keith, yours
God,
is
let me-
huge.
It's huge. Yeah, it's massive.
Whoa.
Oh yeah.
It's a 3D printed pen that Isaac got off of Etsy in the style of the interrogator from Blade Runner.
Huh.
That's a cute gift.
Yeah.
I can't find this. It doesn't matter. Anyways, weirdly mislabeled, but like very fun. Also, like shout out to mechanical carpenter's pencils. That's a real niche thing. A carpenter's pencil, for anyone who doesn't know, is like a flat pencil.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
You
Oh,
can get
yeah.
mechanical ones that are. It's like a mechanical pencil, and it is flat. I wonder if I can find a picture of these. I really like drawing straight lines with them. Whenever I have to like do a building or something, it pisses me off. Here we go. The problem is they're like they're technically a Home Depot item, like a construction
Mhm.
thing, so they're
Yep.
not aesthetic exactly. But they are very fun.
I have a whole like cylinder of these out in my tool shed.
I
Nice,
love these.
yeah.
I should get
They're
this
very
for my
substantial.
dad.
And yeah, I love the ones that are not, because you can't just buy like pencil ass pencils, but I love the ones that are like it feels almost like a switchblade pencil in like a weird way.
The ones that are like normal pencils, it's harder to keep that like flatness.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So if you want the like flat bit, then the mechanical one is a better option, I think.
I do love the look of this. Like it's not the aesthetic of the rest of your stationery,
Looks
right?
like a
but
knife.
it is an aesthetic. And then like little nubbies, like it's like a USB drive or a knife or whatever. It's so good.
Oh, this thing's wild.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This thing looks like something that someone would tell me that I needed for my paintball gear or something.
You're just saying that because it says Striker on it.
That's part of it, is that it's called Striker. But look at the grooves on it. It's definitely. How does it does it notches in? That's so strange.
Yeah, it has a very similar, like, kind of grabby hand mechanism to the normal lead holder.
Are we ready to move on to the next
Yeah.
Sure.
topic?
Are there any, before we move off of pens and pencils, any other things we want to shout out about pens and pencils? I'll start. Off Black Inks. Shout out to Off Black Inks, like Bordeaux,
Oh, I don't even know.
or
what
like
that is.
like a blue black. It's basically an ink that like almost looks black, but it's got a little hint of something else in it.
I want to shout out the Stabilo pen. Is that how you pronounce that?
The Stabilo 88.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're a little bit too thin for me for like long-term use.
They feel bendy when you use. They have like a bend to them for sure.
Yeah. They're like I wouldn't fill a whole page with this. I wouldn't write a whole notebook page with these, but they come in like a wider range of colors that they're good for like decorative accents or whatever. Like,
Yeah, this became my go-to gray pen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I use one of these every week because I had my erasable gray pen, but then I had my permanent gray pen for like layout stuff, for anything I didn't want as bold as like a black line or whatever. And I was using a Marvila pen that I got because I wanted to try a Marvila pen, and I found out I hated the Marvila pen, but again, I bought it, I had to use it up. I finally used it up. I was so happy. I was so happy. And then I replaced it with a Stabilo 88 that is a much better experience, but I can also see like it is a very thin pen. It has a bit of flex to it. It's not as bad as the Marvy. The Marvy's very short is the problem.
Marvy Le Pen.
Yeah.
Marty the pen.
What a fun name.
I with the Stabilo, I like the like pencil aesthetic and feeling of it. So like it feels
Yeah.
comfortable to write with, even
They're
though
cute.
like pens I would probably want something thicker, but like they look good on your desk. They're easy. I guess they're not easy to find. I got mine through Jet Pens. But they're easy to use, it feels like.
I think the Stabilos you can get at most office supply stores now, or you can like. I feel like they're findable. Art stores should also have them because I think in terms of like
yeah.
non black, brown, gray fine liners, I think Stabilo 88 developed a bit of a following because their ink is I want to say like waterproof, archival, etc., etc.
Yeah, now that I'm
So,
thinking of it,
yeah.
I think that you can get them like single like Blick art supplies.
Yeah.
If
I
you have
don't
them
like the
nearby.
pastels. The pastels are basically invisible. There's like a couple of them that are okay, but like some of it, it's like I don't know what this pen is even for.
Al, you said
But-
single, and in my brain it finished. You were trying to tell me that the pens were single origin, which is very funny. The idea of like
They're single origin
small
pens,
estate,
which
single
means
origin
that
pens.
the chocolate flavor really comes through.
Uh,
Like the chocolate cherry, Stabilo 88. Yeah, I think then why don't we move on to planners and notebooks, unless there's any other pen or pencil ideas.
oh, okay, wait. I just want to say
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Danny mentioned in the chat the Stabilo point viscose, which seem like thicker and rounder.
Oh,
And I might have to check these out because they look really nice. Let me see if there's a...
is there a non-click version? I need a non-click version. Thank you.
Well, it looks like they have caps too, which is interesting. Anyway, that's our last shout out before we move on to paper. I
No,
guess.
I actually I would like I guess it's a marker technically. I would like a marker recommendation.
Oh, please.
I don't want a big. If I need to highlight up a book, I don't want a big stupid highlighter.
Yeah.
They're chunky and the color is
I don't
bad.
like that. Yeah.
But the options for what to replace that with seem endless, but also fraught.
I really like the mild liners. I think there's a lot of there's been blowback on the mild liners, so that's a recommendation with an asterisk. Mild
Oh.
liners
How
are
could
basically
there
a
be
double-ended
blowback on a mild
highlighter.
liner?
Huh?
Yeah, what's the
How could
beef?
there be blowback? What's the beef?
So, okay, I think the beef on them is just that the quality of the tips isn't as good as it could be at the price point. Which I
Okay.
think is true. Like with heavy use, they're a bit soft. The bullet nib will tend to get a bit fuzzy. I don't use the bullet nib that much anyway, so I don't super care. Um, but I do. I just one. It's a slim highlighter, which is nice because I also don't want a big chunky thing. I want to keep my highlighters in the same places that I keep my pens, and if I have big chunky highlighters, it eats up space. I'm not interested. But having the double-ended sort of aspect is nice. The colors are also fun because I also just don't like the standard highlighter colors. I would rather have a muted green than a neon green.
Yeah.
So the zebra mild liners are really nice.
I'm
that.
already looking in the book. I don't need to catch my eye.
Yeah, exactly. It's it's already a bunch of lines with color. It's right there.
Yeah.
I feel like I've stopped myself from buying so many highlighters by being like, Allie, you have the Crayola super tips at home, right? Because the variety of colors that those come
Yeah.
in, and
Just pick a pale one or whatever. and
right,
you'll be fine.
yeah, the opacity of the ink for the really
That's the secret. A marker is a highlighter. A
right,
highlighter is just a
yeah.
marker. It's all the same thing if you pick the right color.
Oh.
As far as a specialized highlighter, the Muji does make a retractable one that I do like. I don't highlight a lot of things, so I can't speak to the longevity of that, but it's what I use.
So there's something special about a highlighter that makes it not show through on the other side, or it just
It
is a
depends on the
marker?
highlighter. So Queen Carolyn in the chat has mentioned Bible highlighters. I think those are the ones that are gel based, right? Because they're meant to go on that onion skin paper, and the gel ink stays on the surface. So it's kind of I might be wrong here. I might be thinking of a different kind of highlighter. But you can get highlighters that it's basically a very, very smooth crayon kind of thing where it leaves the color on the surface, but it doesn't bleed through. So
Right,
that might
yeah.
also be worth looking into.
I've
I
heard
don't
of these,
remember
and
what brand, but I've used those. I used those in grad school when I was highlighting textbooks.
do they? It sounds like that would smudge.
I mean, the ones I had could, but they were definitely cheap ones.
Okay.
Yeah, it can depend. I realize that a lot of the recommendations that I think anyone could make really go out the window the second a right-handed person is recommending something to a left-handed person, for example.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because my timeline for what quick drying is going to be so different from someone depending on other needs. If they are left-handed or if they are turning pages really fast and need stuff to dry quickly.
Yeah.
That's always going to be kind of a hiccup.
Yeah, that's such a thing for me because I really like G2 Pilot pens. They're my favorite pen, but in my heart of hearts, I know that the dry time is not reasonable or good. I just like
Yeah.
using them. But they're a inky pen, I will say. The amount of ink that you get when you write with them isn't always consistent, and they'll smudge really easily. But if you let the
Yeah.
ink sit there, it'll end up looking really good on the page. So.
I got two pens to sort of anticipate replacing that Muji pen, and they are Energels, and I had fond memories of an Energel I used a few years ago, and I don't know that it's living up to the memory. That's
Wow.
all I'll say. It's
Is it a
It's
ballpoint
smudgy in
or a
that
roller
way.
ball?
Hmm?
What? Oh wait. Are these? Is it a gel pen or is it a roller ball?
I think it's a gel pen.
Okay. I didn't know that they had gel pens.
No, it says Energel, so I'd
Oh,
hope it was a gel
Energel.
pen.
Oh, I guess maybe it can be, but it could be both, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess
I mean,
Energels are gel pens, huh?
it's fine. I think the mistake was that like I got a slightly thicker nib than I was looking for, and like normally I like a thicker nib, but for this particular use, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. Ask me in 6 months. Gel
Fair.
pens. Um. So, planners, notebooks, paper,
Paper.
bullet journaling,
Mm-hmm.
Obonichi, Tomoe River,
Bujo?
Bujo. I'm gonna say it. I don't like Tomoe River paper.
How come?
I don't either.
Is it because
Wow.
it takes
Thin.
15 minutes to dry stuff
Yeah.
on?
Light
Thin
them
and
up.
crinkly.
It's what?
This is this is this is a controversial thing, because a lot of people do like it because it's
Yeah.
to its credit, it's like a very thin paper, and it is very cool that that ink doesn't show through it as much as some thicker papers show ink through them. That's cool and good for them, but I don't like how it feels.
Yeah.
Did you know they do make like a 50% thicker paper?
But then why am I
Okay.
buying anything from them? Why
What
am
do you
why am
mean?
I not just buying anyone else's nice paper then?
Wait, they have a thicker paper?
They do, yeah. They have like an 85 GSM instead of like the
Where do you get that
52.
from?
I got some of it from Etsy.
Okay. Because
I do feel like it is slightly unfair to be like, I hate this paper, it's too thin. And then when someone tells you they make a thicker one, you're like, well, fuck them anyway.
Well, they're more accessible, thicker papers, right? Like
No, that's fair.
when it was like, I'm gonna be journaling for real now, and I'm gonna be drawing again, and all of these things. The first planner that I started with was a Hobonichi Weekly, or
Weeks.
Hobonichi Weeks, which is their thinner notebook. One side of the page has like 7 sections for the week, and then the other side of the page has like either a grid or boxes. And I was like, this
It's
is
like very thick. It's like the size of a wallet. It's like a
Yeah.
long wallet, like an old fashioned lady's long wallet. It's about that size.
And I went with that because I felt like a daily planner was like too ambitious. It was like too much pressure to like expect me to like sit down and keep track of every day, but like doing things by week seemed more reasonable. But it ended up just being too squished for me to really use. Like I kept trying to like make interesting layouts or like do a little bit of decoration or even keep all of my
Yeah.
notes, and I was just like, this isn't working for me. So I ended up getting like a larger notebook, but basically just drawing out that like layout for myself, where it was like, here's every day of the week, and then here's a side where I can do like to-do lists or whatever. But like, yeah, the thickness of the paper just feels weird to me with the Hobonichi planners. And
It feels
Specifically
like
because it's too thin.
yes.
Yeah.
It's weird because
It,
I've never used the thinner one, so I don't have, because I saw how thin it was and I was like, that seems too thin. Let me get the thicker one.
So yeah, like because I think maybe the thing that really turned me against it is that fact that I use those friction pens to sort of plan things out in advance, but not commit them down to any kind of layout. Is that like that is not paper you want to erase on.
yeah.
Or if you
That
do,
makes
you want to
sense.
erase it in single strokes in one direction very carefully. Or I could like get out my heat gun and erase the ink that way, I guess, which is like, I mean, you can do the friction. When I use friction, sometimes I use friction pens instead of pencils when I'm like painting if I really truly want no pencil lines.
Mhm.
And I'll basically use the pen and then paint, and then I'll just hit it with a heat gun afterwards and it erases all the ink and it's great, it works fine. But I'm not doing that when I'm erasing like go to dentist from my planner. Like it's not gonna happen.
There's like the thing. I always thought that the thing about, and this is like, when I'm writing, I'm like 85% of the time using a fountain pen, and I always felt like the people who really liked the Tomoe River paper, and I kind of forgot that they used them for the Hobonichi stuff, is because it works really well with fountain pens. It doesn't absorb the paper or the ink really fast, so it feathers it all out, and it doesn't show through the other side. And so I can kind of see it. It doesn't
It
feel
does show
controversial
through
to
the
be
other
like,
side, though.
I've never seen. I mean,
So this is my problem with it is that like it doesn't bleed through the other side, but you can see it. You can fucking see it. And I don't want to see it. I want to see a nice, crisp new page.
Um, I think it's this is the fountain pen thing, right? It's the bleed that people don't want normally, because I think anyone that's using a fountain pen just accepts the show through, like like you turn the page and you can see it faintly, and it's just like, yeah, that's just using a fountain pen, but without the bleed through. It's like, oh well, this, if I want something that doesn't bleed through, it's this, and the reason it doesn't bleed through is because it takes 45 seconds to dry, because it's not absorbent.
Yeah, because it's not sinking into the paper. But like
Right.
this, you can have a thicker paper. Like I think the Tomoe River, its thinness also means like, oh, you can have a planner that feels kind of thin. Like it's not,
Yeah. That's true.
it's not bulky. Like the paper's not bulky in the same way. But like that's not my experience of using that paper. Is that like it bulks up just like any planner does. And I could still see, like, even if the ink wasn't like absorbing deep into the paper, I could still see it on the other side. So it was like, well, why don't I just use a thicker paper? Like it's already, the planner's already going to be thick. At least it's going to look less crappy if I just get it like that way from the start. And like that's the thing, is like you don't have to, if you're using a fountain pen, there are a lot of options in terms of stuff that's not going to bleed or feather or whatever, like now more than ever anyways. Like normal lined paper and stuff doesn't hold up. Well, I mean, I was using fountain pens on that stuff and in university it was fine, but for like delicate paper, yeah, I also started out on the Hobonichi weeks and it was just like it looked like a mess. Like I was trying so hard to make it look nice, but the more I used it, the worse it looked, just because it shows through the paper. And like even if it's not bleeding, it's not like blotting onto the next page, which it still will do if you try and like, you know, when you see there's like a lot of people who use their Hobonichi planner for like light watercoloring and stuff, and it's like, show me the other page, because that does go through.
Yeah.
When you're getting wet media involved, it goes through. Even if I was just like using a Tombow marker to just like put a little bit of color on top, and I would use just like a little bit of water and a water brush to spread the color a little more evenly, that would bleed through. Like it's not magic. Like it's still just paper. It's still, I shouldn't have those expectations of it. But again, it's a case of like the people who love the paper love it so much that like it gives you these expectations, and when you try it and it doesn't match up to them, it's like, well, I don't need to carry a planner around with me anyway, so like I leave it on my desk. So what does it matter if it's thick? What if I enjoy using thicker paper, then who cares? It's just staying in one place all the day anyway. Like it's fine for me.
Give Janine cardboard. 700
What?
GSM.
Yeah. I mean, so the planner I use now is, if they made a planner that was all 100% watercolor paper, I would probably use it. I think that would be fun. It would be massive. But the one I use now is I use one of the Mossery planners, which, again, speaking of like hyped up stationery influencer products, Mossery is really up there. But I kind of think they deliver. Like I like the covers, and I like that they work with a bunch of different artists, and I've bought Mossery planners I think 3 years in a row now.
Oh wow.
Because the paper is thick, and like most of the pens I use, you don't see them on the other side of the page. And like, yeah, it bulks up a bit because I fill it with washi tape or whatever, but like it's fine. It's staying in one spot. It's doing the job it needs to do. It has enough space for what I want to do with it. Like, I can't complain.
Yeah, I'm in an interesting place, because I like think that using the Hobonichi was like an important stepping stone for me, realizing that like, oh, just get a blank notebook and figure it out. Like I went with the Hobonichi because I was interested in bullet journaling, but I was like, I don't know that I'm really going to be able to do that. So let me go with something that's going to have the layout already. And then realize, like, no, the layout is for me to determine, and I need that. So I got a Lectura 1917.
Oh yeah. I used one of those once.
Yeah, and I really like them. They come in like fun colors. I have like my 2018 one that I'm holding in my hand is like a nice gold color, and they'll do like a special drop of a color each year, I think.
Their paper's like perfect. Like that paper is exactly what I'm looking for in
Do they have their own
notebook planner
paper?
stuff.
I'm not positive on the
I've
paper.
never used them, but I feel like I remember when I was researching notebooks and that they have like another famous paper brand that they use.
Yeah,
Sorry, I was
I'm
spreading back a sneeze.
It's okay. I'm not positive. I do like the paper because it is pretty thin. There is a little bit of bleed with the types of pens and the like markers that I use, but not so much that it really bothers me. And I really love a dot grid. I know that's something we all
Yes.
have opinions on.
Okay, so that's
Dot
something I
grid.
don't know a lot about. So what is a dot grid? Just like
It's dots. It's
Right.
all
okay,
dots.
yeah.
Yeah, okay,
It's dots.
imagine a piece of graphing paper,
Mm-hmm.
and every intersection was a dot, and every line didn't exist,
Uh-huh.
and that
Okay.
is dot grid. It
Sure.
is the perfect paper because if you want, you can just ignore the dots.
Yeah.
Yes.
But if you need the guidance, if you're writing in straight lines
funny.
and you want the
Because-
guidance, the dots are there, and that's as good as a line basically because you can make sure you're. And if you're like, if you need to draw a box or a chart or something, the dots are there. The dots have you.
Okay.
I love dot grids so much, and like I have like a couple traveler's notebooks, like those really thin ones that go in a leather like cover that I use when I'm like
Yeah.
in meetings for notes and stuff like that. And I have one that has graph paper on it. And after using dot grid for so long and then using this graph paper notebook, it's like impossible for me to read what I've written because the graph lines are so like visually loud to me now.
Gotcha.
The dot grid is just like so perfect because you can tune it out or you can pay attention to it. Like it's there if you need it and it's not if you don't. Like it's just perfect. I love it.
Yeah. I feel like ruled paper, like I'm a really big like right slanter. Like if
same.
if you give me
Yeah.
a blank piece of paper and I try to write in a line,
It's
like
impossible.
it's gonna
Yeah.
be a downward curve very quickly.
It's going to be in like a 62-degree angle.
Yeah. And I do find like well, especially because I was starting with bullet journaling, I was like, lines are just not going to work for me because they're going to be distracting and they're going to be like another limiter like planner outlines were going to be. The dot grid is really good, especially because what I was doing a lot was just like, what I would do is write the name of the month at the top of a paper, write all of the numbers of the month in the middle of the paper, and then on either side I would write like work events and social events, and this was like, this is my month at a glance. And then on the other pages it would either be like to-do lists or it would be like dailies or like a grocery list, and I would like doodle a can of beans or whatever and a ear of corn because I was like, I'm thinking about my groceries and I'm journaling and I'm having fun with this.
And I love beans and corn.
You know what?
I wasn't saying it as a judgment.
So like the freedom for that while also being able to like, oh, I do have this, like if I am sketching out something, I have this grid. I've done like when I moved into my apartment, when I redid my bedroom in my parents' house, I drew these like layouts of my room after I measured everything out to be like, okay, I'm gonna move my bed here and I'm gonna move my desk here, and just like having a notebook that can like do all of those things at once is really important to me, and the dot grid provides that.
Yeah. There's nothing better. I don't know.
It's
than
funny
a
because
good
regular
dot
grid is the worst.
Yeah.
I think I had a soft spot for it before I knew there was an alternative, right? Like dot grid to me is a very like I would say even like post 2012 thing. Not that it
might
was
be true.
invented then. Like I'm sure it existed, but like in terms of
Well, they
like
hadn't
being able to
invented dots
reliably
yet.
go somewhere. Yes.
Mhm.
In terms of being able to reliably go somewhere and be like, I need a dot grid notebook, and then having someone not look at you like you were out of your mind.
Yeah.
That feels like something that's happened in the last 10 years more than anything else, because it's, I think, a big part because of bullet journaling, right? Because like you need that flexibility.
Mhm.
Well, because the
But before that,
lines,
like,
the use
no, go
case for
ahead.
lines is so obvious and
Yeah.
so clear that
Mhm.
there's always a place for having lines, because it's like, I know that this is a place where I'm going to be writing, and so I want lines for the writing. And the
Yeah.
regular grid is so obtrusive for almost everything. It's worse than lines for writing, because you've got a bunch of vertical lines going through all your writing.
Or
And
like
it's worse.
math and charting, and
It's
like
yeah,
it feels weird like that.
Mhm.
it is okay for math, but then it's like all of the stuff where you label everything you're writing, and you've got annoying lines going through everything. But the dot grid so easily can become a grid
Mhm.
Yeah.
if you in only the spots where you need it to be.
That's all you need.
Shout out to the dot grid, and you can write on it. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Um,
unobtrusive there if you need it.
do
Suggestive without being like.
Mhm.
do do we want to look at the notebook that I used for years that that both Janine and Austin made fun of me for calling a notebook?
Oh my god, is this the one that we like
I don't
bullied
remember
you
this.
Yes, yeah,
on?
you guys you bullied me about my notebook.
Aw.
This is like an iconic.
Oh, I feel bad. I feel bad, so
Skype
I need to see it
conversation.
now just to feel less bad.
I used this for years. It's a refillable sort of canvas notebook that uses these very small A5 things, and I used to put I used to carry 2 classes with me at once, and I would have one class in one side and one class on the
Yeah,
other side.
what's wrong with this? This
I
looks
don't
fine.
know. I
Times have
didn't.
changed because I don't understand. I don't see anything to make fun of here. This seems like a perfectly. I mean, I guess this is a notebook cover, but it's like a system, right? Like
Yes,
it's
it's
a
like a
notebook system, which is totally
Yes.
valid.
Well,
Yeah.
from what I remember of that day, the iconic day, is that there was like a lot of confusion about like initially like you were pitching the notebook and we thought that it was just like paper that was a ring binding, right? And that it was just something that was loose. So like you would see this object and it would immediately be paper. There wouldn't be a cover. And we were all like, Keith, what are you talking about? And then like the thought of like just taking like notebook paper and tucking it into something and then like having that be not like flimsy and weird and something that
I
would break
remember this. Because I remember you all yelling about putting like inserting paper into stuff. I remember
we
this
were
now.
clowning
It was a
you,
really
and
long
I
time.
don't
This was
remember
9
that
years
at
ago,
all.
8 years
This was
ago.
when we were on Skype, is how long ago
This
this
is
was.
Skype.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. I see.
We were
I'm gonna say
wrong.
my mind has been opened a lot to notebook systems in the intervening years. The structure of this is actually really similar to the structure of how the Mossery covers work. It's just that the Mossery cover is paper and not fabric.
Oh.
But like it has like a thing, you know. I mean, Hobonichi has this too, right? Where it's like there's the cover and then the book, and you can tuck the book in. And whatever.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, this seems fine. I mean, yeah, it's fine.
It's great. I like a small notebook. Like the whatever I had to use for school, like the big like letter sized. It just always felt, it was always so big and bulky, and I always only used half of it by the end of the year, or maybe even less. And so when I discovered this was like in 2011 going to college, I was like, oh, I can just, if they make paper smaller, I can get smaller paper.
Yeah, you can get any size of paper you want.
You can get any size of paper that you want.
Bound
Yeah.
on the top, bound on the side, bound whatever fucking way.
Yeah.
Oh.
This is the Kokuyo systemic cover notebook ring type, and it's like a canvas cover, and then they sell very small little notebooks that I remember being pretty cheap. I bought like 10 of them, and I still have like half of them, as like the interior.
Yeah, that's like why I have a couple they're not actual traveler notebooks, they're like traveler clones One of them I got in a Flying Tiger store, and it was like $5, and the other one I got like on the internet ambiguously somewhere, so it was also like $10. And it's just like it is just a cover that some elastics hold some little notebooks in here. And
Is Traveler like a brand?
Traveler is like the actual, I forget the actual brand. It's something Midori. It's Midori Traveler. And the
Okay.
Midori Traveler official stuff is a little bit pricey for what it is. Especially the covers are a little bit pricey for what they are. But you can, because it's popular enough, you can just get refills like wherever on Etsy or whatever that are just that size. And it's just a little booklet, and it's just like really fun and freeing to be like, you know what, I think this time I want a lined one, and I want a dot grid one, and then I want a plain one, and I'll stick these all in here and then just do whatever with them. Like I can label this one for work, and I can label this one for like whatever game notes or some shit. Like it's, and just mix and match. Like anything you can mix and match feels great. God, now I'm just thinking about Flying Tiger, which is if you have access to a Flying Tiger, the Flying Tiger, the Copenhagen one. There's a Flying Tiger in Canada that's just like a grocery store, but they have a lot of fun little stationery bits in there. It's like the European Daiso for context.
Oh.
Oh, sure.
If you have access to a Daiso, also,
Yeah.
can I live with you?
I will say, going back to the lecture of 1917, the thing that I like about these notebooks the most, besides them just being like aesthetically pleasing and having nice paper, is that they open up really flat, which is good. Like the binding on them is like solid in a way that isn't like annoying.
That's crucial for me.
Yeah. And I like that they come in different sizes. I have like a smaller like 4x3 one that I would carry around in my purse for like to-do lists or taking down notes and stuff. And then I had I want to say this is like probably like a 7x6 or something. I don't know the like A4 sizes or whatever off the top of my head. But the other thing is that the paper is perforated. So if I have a situation where I need to pull a page out, I can do so without messing anything else up. And like that was also a big thing for me. That was great. And they have a little pocket in the back for like stickers.
Yeah, anything with a pocket is great.
Ooh, yeah.
So important.
Allie, I want to know what's in your pocket right now.
So my 2008 one, the pocket that I have is I tweeted this the other day. I found a bar napkin that I saved onto because my friend drew a little portrait of me flexing, saying my podcast rules, and thinking about a piece of meat and like a little bunny and things like that. And I was like, yeah, shout out to 2008. I have 2 stickers in here. I have the Final Fantasy VIII stickers that I believe you sent to me, Janine, that I think came with the PlayStation version. And I also have when sometimes people sell their Inktober sketches. I had bought one from somebody of a witch walking down the street on her cell phone. I don't know the artist on this, unfortunately. Socialite Witch 2016, and that was in there too because I was like, I just want a place to keep this that's easy, and the easiest place was the pocket in the back of my daily planner. But I also really love it because we'll probably talk about stickers later and sticker uses. But it's good to like have something there to be like, oh, I mean, like my sticker organization is not that good, but like if it's something that I want to use, the more accessible it is, the better. So to keep like, oh, here's a sticker page in the back of my book is going to be so much more encouraging to use it than being like, let me pull out this box and go through all of the different things. So yeah.
My current planner pocket situation is so the Mossery planners have a pocket in the front and the back. My front pocket has a David's Tea discount card that I've sharpened the edge on. I
Ooh.
filed the edge on it. So, because I had like a couple of these, not to like be dark, but like I had a couple of these because like my mom had one in her wallet and then she died, and I didn't need
Mm.
two of them because also the David's tea went out of business. So, I took one of them and it was like an interesting sort of wedge shape, and I like filed the edge on it so it was a little bit sharper, and I used that to cut washi tape. Um,
Oh.
as just
Oh.
like to like a tearing guide, and that goes in the little slot in the pocket in the front, and then in the back I have a bunch of like loose scraps of paper that I'll use to test the bleedability on like a new pen or something that I've gotten, or
Oh, that's
if I'm
smart.
like doing like a layout and I need to like make a stroke that overlaps the page, I'll use a scrap of paper underneath so it doesn't get ink on the underlying pages. um, I've got the front part of a cat-shaped greeting card, so it's just a cardboard cat in here.
Okay.
Um, I've also got a thought record printout sheet that my therapist had me fill out one time, about being about something about not believing in a growth mindset or something like that. And then I've got a little post-it note that has a bunch of episodes of Poirot that I think are good.
Gotta have that on hand.
Sure.
You gotta have that on hand. The post-it note is themed like an old Windows interface, like a text file interface.
Oh, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
That's that real shit.
That's what pockets are for.
I feel like I'm in a weird place with planners because I did really enjoy bullet journaling, but like COVID destroyed my ability to like really take notes, and I'm feeling
Sure.
myself
Yeah.
suffer from not writing things down and keeping track of things. But I've been the sort of person who can like keep deadlines in my head, and also like through lack of motivation and things like that, I will hit a deadline even if it, like I'm an all-nighter person. I'll save things till the last minute and then do the thing that I need to when I need to do it, and it's not great, and I don't love like age
That's
regressing in this
urgency.
way.
That's INCU. That's the urgency component. Is you put it off, and then you have that. Then urgency gets injected in, and then you get it done.
Yeah, and
trap.
I ended up going with like undated planners for a little bit, and I didn't use anything like specific that I could call out with this. I think there was like a cute things from Japan type website that I think was advertised to me on Instagram that had like some nice undated planners that I went with, and like it was there for me when I needed it. This says notebook therapy on the side, so if you wanna, I'll check that. And then I ended up going from that to a ringed just calendar called the Midori Stand Diary. And I think when I found this,
Oh,
I sent it
yeah.
to you, Janine, because I was like, I'm fascinated
I think
with
I had
this.
one of those, or
Um,
something similar. That was like right before I think I got my Hobonichi weeks. I tried something like that.
yeah, and they're unfortunately sold out on jet pens right now. I'm sure it's probably something that you can get in, like probably around the beginning of the year because they're made per year. But it's just like,
Yeah.
it's when you think of like a calendar where it's like you flip the page and it's the new month. It's just that, and it was easier for me to be like, okay, this is just a calendar I can write down like appointments
Yeah.
on, like I would if it was a calendar hanging on the desk. But the opposite side would have the calendar laid out by day, and then you could just like, oh, if I want to mark off that I have to do this thing this day, or like if I want to mark off like habits or things of that nature, I could do it that way. And then on the back of it, it has a bunch of like gridded paper just for notes and things like that. So it was like, okay, here's a book that will hold all of the things that I need to do, but will also like hold my hand and not give me a lot of pressure, because it's something that will
Yeah.
sit on my desk and I can be like, oh, that's what day it is, right? Like the purpose of a calendar. And I want to go back into like more experienced journaling, but like having something like this that was like a calendar with also a space for like tasks on the bottom of it was like a good nurturer when
Yeah.
like it was all that I could do, right?
At the end of the day, like, it has to be a system that works for you and provides the service you need, and not like a system that you look at and you feel bad because you can't rise to meet it. Like,
Yeah.
right? You can't, if it's this, this is me and my struggle with to-do lists and stuff, is that like you have to like really winnow down on like, what do I need this to accomplish for me, and what am I not able to like, where's the gap here? Like, where am I not able to meet this thing, and can I bring it down to meet me? Because you shouldn't have to rise to meet your planner. Your system needs to fit your life and your needs and where you're at, even if it's like, even if you want to do like the really beautiful bullet journal. Like, whenever I see someone's really, really gorgeous bullet journaling layouts or something on YouTube, I always think like, okay, for this person, this is one of their hobbies.
And also
Yeah.
kind of
the way it
their
is.
job.
Yes, and also their job, right, on YouTube. This is
Yeah.
also their job. But like, you'll see like StudyTube is a good example, where you get all these people who like spend a lot of money on really fancy supplies and spend a lot of time on really beautiful notes and planners and all of this stuff. And it's, I think, helpful to look at that and be like, well, this is this person's hobby or their job. Do I want it to be my hobby or job? No, then I need to find a system that works within what I do want it to be, which is like, okay, for me personally, I want to spend a couple minutes a day catching up on a planner. And then like maybe a half hour on Sunday setting up my layout for the next week, or an extra half hour at the end of the month setting up my monthly stuff, whatever. That's the threshold that I'm at. And so I have a planner that fits that, where it's like the basics of the layout are taken care of. And the little bits of flourish that I want to add don't take a long time. They are tape, they are stickers, they are whatever. And then I pick my 3 colors of pen that I want to use for the next week, and then I'm done. And I don't have to feel bad about it. I don't have to feel like I'm deficient in some way because I can't keep up with this gorgeous planner or whatever. It's the tool that it needs to be for me, right? And it's just
Yeah, I feel like
me using it.
that is where I'm stuck in trying to figure out a thing, is because I feel like I need something that is more flexible than something that is already like filled out and has a specific space for like each day. But the idea of like keeping up with that and having to like, fill something out each day to like to keep up with the organization is a lot.
Yeah, that's why I tended towards weekly spreads so much, because I like the sort of like, I would open my planner and see what I have to do today was more than like, I would have some days where, or like some weeks I would say, where I would be like, oh, for this week I'm gonna write down all of the movies that I watched in like a short little like 3-sentence almost blog post of like, here's what I did because I want these memories or whatever. But like the weeks where I was not up to that, like drawing a line, writing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and like just scribbling in whatever I needed to really worked for me. And it wasn't like a lot of time or a lot of effort. And if I wanted to decorate it or use specific colors, like I had that option without it being this like, I'm gonna do this monthly theme of like birds, and I'm gonna draw all of these birds or these different buildings. I do want to shout out a YouTuber, Amanda Rach Lee, who is one of the only like planner YouTubers that I still sort of keep up with, just because I sort of like her content, even though I'm not doing the same things that she is. And she talks a lot about it being like, sure, I use this in a functional way, but also if I wasn't keeping up with this the way that I wanted to, like, this is my creative outlet. Like, I'm not doing, I'm not doing like serious illustrations all of the time. I like doodling on the edges of my weekly thing and thinking about what my spreads are going to be. And that is my outlet for this in my life. And like, shout outs to you, but like, that's not what I'm doing.
Right.
I mean, I think also like, I used to be really digilant. I used to really digivolve every month with my
Sure,
planner
yeah.
layouts. So the Mossery planner has this thing at has a whole bunch of stuff at the start of the book that's like your goals and your whatever, and like I fill that stuff out, but I mostly cover it up and use it up as like places to write reminders. Like that's why I opened my planner to remember what INCU stood for, because I have a thing there that's just like stuff that I just think is maybe going to be useful to me this year as like to consider and whatever, and then if it works it works, if it doesn't I replace it. But it has these things between every month where it says like review and plan, and when I started using these planners I would be really diligent about trying to write in like, okay, I'm going to review what happened this month, here's all the stuff that happened, and it has like prompts like what went well, what could have been better, what have I achieved, what have I learned. And then I realized like I don't know. Like sometimes sometimes that month just happened to me.
Yeah.
And I don't have a thing. And like the thing for the upcoming month is plan. What do you want to do? What do you want to achieve this month? What's the purpose of your goals? How are you going to achieve them? Draft out your action plans in detail. And I almost never want to do that.
No.
So it was like very freeing to realize like, oh, the thing I could do here is I could just cut a nice picture out of a magazine and glue it on this page, and it looks nice, and I don't have to consider what went well, what could have been better, what have I achieved, what have I learned. Like maybe this is just a picture of some flowers from a catalog. It's fine. It also doesn't have to be like a beautiful, I didn't have to sit there and do it myself. Like I can.
Right,
But also
yeah.
I can just, it's fine. It's just it's just a tool, and it's exactly what you need it to be. If it's your creative outlet, that's great. Like that's the thing, is like sometimes it is my creative outlet, and sometimes it is a book where I keep track of how many times I ordered takeout because I don't want to order takeout as often as I do.
Oh, sure.
That's fine too.
Yeah, that's another thing with like bullet journaling, like the like really intense like mood trackers, or like this is gonna be my page of like my monthly playlist, and like there's such a place for that, and I do really like the like scrapbook style of like, oh, these are my memories or whatever, but like
Yeah.
I often do not have the time or the patience for those things. And the thing that
No.
I like about having a blank notebook is like I have a book that has the flexibility for that stuff. Like looking through this 2018 planner and like seeing basically the same layout, and then just a page of like a list of stuff, and then a page of like a bunch of things that I wrote about a wrestling show that I really went to, or like pictures from a vacation that I printed out and put on a page, is like the that all of this exists in here is what's important to me, versus like hyper functionality or like giving myself this like pressure of like this other thing that I feel like I have to keep up with.
By the way, if you're going to do a mood tracker, you better be sure when you start that looking at all your moods in a row
man.
is going to be really depressing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tried that. That was the thing. I tried that as I did a mood tracker when I was like starting to seriously think about going to therapy. And it was useful in the sense of like I could concretely say like, yes, I'm very anxious very often. I am anxious more often than I am not anxious. And that was good to make me finally do the thing of being like, okay, I'm going to make this appointment. Like this is going to start happening now. And then I stopped doing it mostly. Now I still like I use the like annual calendar view, and I have some, what are they called? Zig Clean Color Dot markers. And it's a marker that just makes dots.
Oh.
It's a special marker for just dots, and I have a few in different colors. And so sometimes if I'm feeling like really intensely something, if it's like really intensely good or really intensely sad or really intensely anxious, I will put a dot on that day in the calendar just so I can see the real peaks or the real dips. And that's still, I don't tend to like reflect on it that often, but it is useful to be like, right, I didn't have a great month that month. Like I shouldn't feel too bad that I didn't do a lot of housework or whatever. Like look at all these little red dots, or like that week was tough, or when I do talk to my therapist, I can be like, yeah, it was a little, I had some rough spots last week, but because otherwise I will just tend to forget that stuff.
Sure.
But keeping it as like an everyday thing can be a little
Well, it's
like, I
just-
think it's
Mhm.
useful if you really, really want that info, but man, it can also be a bit scary on its
It
own.
can be a
right?
lot. Yeah.
it just seems like one of those things that is is like created by a circle of people whose job it is to like sell productivity and tracking and positivity like as part of a brand,
Mm.
where it's
Yeah,
like
I've definitely seen versions of it that are very like,
Yeah.
if you're the
I
kind
mean,
of person where you're mostly happy,
yeah.
yeah.
or
it
or
means
if
it
being the
doesn't
kind of
last for
person
you.
that's mostly happy is part of your product.
Yeah,
Well,
like you're
yeah.
trying to cultivate it, like you're trying to. There's also
Right.
that there's totally that side of things where it's like, if you're sad, you need to try harder, like that kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
mindset,
Yeah. Yeah.
where it's
Yeah.
like, I could definitely see people using a mood tracker as a way to be like, it seems like I was sad. I need to think more about The Secret and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what's
Yeah.
that? The
I have to get
term
more
for
vitamin C.
yeah.
It's The Secret, right? Or the
You have to
I'm trying to remember what's actually called the like self.
actualization to
I don't think
self-actualize.
that's
Maybe.
it. It's like when you put it out into the universe.
yeah, the Oprah
to-
thing. It's called The Secret. Yeah, it's like
Well,
Yeah.
the book is called The Secret, but that's not the like idea of it. Like
Oh,
people
sure,
are
sure.
repackaging
Right. The
it now
secret
as its own
is the
thing.
word for the thing. The secret
Oh,
is
sure.
to
Yeah.
manifest it.
Yeah, I guess it's
Something like
Yeah.
that. It's
I
all
think it
it's
says
along those
manifesting.
lines.
Must be.
Yeah.
It's the thing where it's like, if I look in a mirror and tell myself I'm going to be rich and famous and have beautiful hair,
Sure.
then
Sure.
I'm going to
Yeah.
slowly become rich and famous and
Yeah.
get more beautiful hair.
Not to be totally
Um,
cynical about it. Sometimes people just want to put a smiley face when they're happy and a sad face when they're
Yeah.
sad. But
Yeah,
like,
that's and there is
Right,
there
yeah.
is benefit to like, again, like for me, like it was absolutely beneficial for me to, because I don't remember things as clearly as I would like to
Mhm.
sometimes, to be able to just look at the thing and be like, yeah, no, I'm not imagining this. I do feel bad very often.
Yeah. I
But
feel
then
like I
also
should
to be able
say
to
there
step away
are
from it.
legit, like, therapeutic, helpful reasons to do mood tracking.
Yeah, yeah.
right. But a lot of it, be liking pens and notebooks doesn't like put you outside of the things that's like, kind of weird about being an influencer. Like there's an influencer in
Oh, for
there's
sure.
influencers in every
Mhm.
hobby, including notebooks. And just because someone with 1.5 million subscribers and likes all the pens that you like,
Yeah. I mean, this is also
seems like they're always in a good mood. Or doesn't mean that like they are or that all their ideas are good.
Mhm.
I
It just
kind of
means
feel this way about like habit trackers, where I feel like my own relationship with productivity has been very toxic. So whenever I see someone who's like really into habit tracking, it kind of, it can set me on edge a little bit, because I think it's that like grind set, right? It's the workaholic grind set of like
Right.
every waking moment you need to be maximizing your hobbies and your efforts and your whatever. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you need to make sure that every single day you're doing this and this and this and this and this and this and
Right.
this, because otherwise it doesn't count. If you break your streak, then you've ruined it. And like, it's, for some people that stuff is helpful. For other people, I think you need to be cautious. For people like me, that's not where I'm at. That's not where I want to be or where I'm at.
Yeah, it's absolutely something I see like the pros and cons in, and I wouldn't say that like having that information or like attempting to like understand your life in that way isn't useful. I just think like that Keith is right that there's some sort of like performance of that stuff sometimes that can
Mhm.
feel
Yeah. Even if it's real, there's a performance of it.
Especially because like I know for a fact that there are like journaling influencers who have a real journal and their show journal, and their show journal is the one they put on camera, that's perfect, that has all the stuff checked
Oh,
off and
sure.
everything
Yeah.
looks
Yeah.
really tidy. And the one that they use for their actual shit, you never fucking see it.
That's
but
inherently depressing to me. That
they'll
is-
they'll like they'll say things where it's like, they're not admitting that it's not their real planner, but they'll refer to like this planner in a way that's just like weird. It's just like suspicious and weird.
Mhm.
It's hard to put my finger on it exactly, but they'll just talk about like when I looked at this planner last week, and it's like, wait a minute, you have daily spreads in here. What do you mean when you looked at it last week? Um,
Well, okay.
yeah,
Well, to pivot multiple books off of this conversation and to something that's more relevant that I'm curious about. Janine, you are an iconic multiple themed notebook person, right? Like you'll have a
true.
specific book for a specific reason.
So,
The name book, for
uh-huh.
instance. The...
Can I tell you, I don't know where the name book is right now.
Oh wow.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
I think it's in a box in my closet, but it was such a thing of
scoop.
like my desk drawer before I had my office, and it didn't make it into the office. So, because I don't have drawers in this desk.
Oh no.
Um,
Same with my
I
desk.
have like
though.
a big like L-shaped thing with like a rolling thing, and it doesn't matter. But I will say that like, sorry, you were gonna ask something.
Well, I was
Cut you off.
gonna ask you to talk about your multiple notebooks and if that's still like a system that you use or if there's like still reasons that you find where it's like this
Define
notebook is gonna be
use.
this thing versus.
I think there are just some notebooks that have they feel like they are for certain things. Like, I have my hand on a little row of notebooks right now. And there's a sketchbook for alcohol markers that I haven't cracked into yet. There is like a daily journal with the Tomoe River style paper, I will say. But it's Stalogy daily unnumbered journal, which I got just because I wanted something to do like little sketches and stuff in, mostly because I saw I think it was forget if it was Jack or KB. Jack and KB have like little planners that they do stuff in every day, and it was cute, and I wanted that for me. I got one of those. I don't use it very often, but you know. I have a cheap notebook that just has dump notes written on it, and it's just like brain dump type stuff. Or like, I think in here I have notes about what minions I don't have yet in Final Fantasy 14.
Oh, that's a big list, probably.
It's not as big as you would think. I have,
Ooh,
I want
proud
to
of you.
say, 8 pages or something of minions. It's like I'm missing a few. I'm missing of
Sorry,
this
I took
list.
my headphones off for a second.
half
What
dozen.
about minions?
Final
they
Fantasy
love
14
banana.
minions. They're like
They
little,
love banana.
they're little guys who hang out with you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We should have a
So I
minion
have-
talk.
So I have that. I have my Animal Crossing art journal thing that I started but didn't really get too deep into. I have a notebook here that's like, when I quit doing games journalism, I started getting kind of anxious about like, where do I put my thoughts about games now? So I have
You
a
can't
book-
just have them.
No, because again, like I have like a big fear of forgetting things, and it happens.
Sure.
Like I will forget movies that I've watched and stuff. So I have one of these books for like movies as well, where it's like if I have a thought about this that I really don't want to lose, I want somewhere to put it. So I'll do that. But again, they don't factor too much into my daily life. I have a notebook here for when I watch like it's like professional development, right? So like the stuff that's in here is if I watch a GDC talk, I'll take notes and put it here. I've got notes on Anne Reid's ethical world building in games. So it's like articles to videos, things like that. Then I have like my work notes and things like that. So I still, I have my Phasmophobia notes. I have a notebook for like a mini notebook for perfumes that I have, so I can remember which ones I like and which ones I don't. And then I have a notebook for teas for same thing, so I can remember which ones I like and which one I don't. So all
That's the
this
first
stuff is still
crossover
here.
notebook that we have, Janine.
Oh
Yes.
wow.
But I bet my tea one is a lot less detailed than yours because it came free with a tea subscription. So it's not even like really purposeful. It's like it's all filled in with their idea of what I should be noticing about teas.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's fine though. They write
So all
they
this
write
shit's
they
still
write
there.
those notes trying to be correct.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't know. I don't care how my tea looks. I don't need to write down, like, this tea is
No.
dark. Like, I don't care. But there's, like, a little chart that's, like, an eye, a nose, or no, it's, like, an eye, a mouth, and a nose. So it's, like, look at your tea and write down how it looks, and then smell it. How does it smell? And then taste it. How does it taste? And it's, like, I don't care about this shit. The taste is all I care about, and I don't care if it's red or whatever. But it is still nice to have it as a tool of, like, I mean, all this comes about because I remember things better when I write them down, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think the movie notebook and the game notebook, like, the act of writing the thing down is what's important. And it's not the same if I type it. It has to be, I am writing it, I am looking at it, I'm visually seeing this information, and then I retain it better. That's the benefit, and that's why I think why also I tend to put all these things in separate notebooks instead of having, like, a binder, because I can be like, oh right, the notebook with the red and pink flowers is the one where I write about movies and books. So I can, like, have those associations, and, you know, we all have systems.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's fun though.
Some of them more complex than others, but, you know.
I need to be every time I'm playing a game that I'm enjoying. I'm like, I gotta be keeping notes on this, and I am not able to keep it consistently. I always forget.
It's it's tough. I'm not consistent about that stuff. Like, I just made the switch to Notion, where I was using a Kanban based program before, and I made the switch to Notion. I'm keeping some game notes in there now, because there's just some stuff that I tried to, like, you know, I play Genshin
Was that an
Impact,
app?
and I tried to, yes, it's like an app that makes little web pages for all your shit. And I tried to, because I play Genshin Impact, I tried to, like, make a table of, like, okay, what are all the weapons that everyone says are good for these characters, and what are all the artifact sets? And I got, like, 3 characters deep, and it just, like, short circuited my brain. Like, it was too much to do by hand, and it, like, kind of freaked me out a little bit. So the thing I needed to do was, like, make it as a database where it's all just, like, self-organizing, and I can just put in the categories, and it all just manages itself. Sometimes there's a need for that, and I can't do it on pen and paper. And that's where a lot of my notes go now for game stuff. But, you know, sometimes you, like Animal Crossing, sometimes you want to just, like, draw a little guy and be like, I met this guy today, look at his hat. Anyway, I feel like I really, like, went in there.
It's
How was the
important.
hat?
Speaking of like deep relationships with stationery and stuff. This cuts to it though, right? Which is that, like, for me, stationery has been a way of coping with a lot of things, or, like, managing a lot of things, or, like, seeing, like, here's where I'm struggling with something, and here's this thing that works for me. How do I combine them? How do I say, like, well, you know, I get a lot of pleasure out of the act of using a pen. How do I combine that with the fact that, like, I don't have a good awareness of, like, what I've gotten done in a week or something? Like, I think that's, like, the heart of finding a good system to sort of, Dre, to go back to your, like, original thing, is, like, being able to have that kind of, like, clarity of, like, what works for you and what you need, like, what you really, really need, and what you need a thing to, like, accomplish for you. But also not feeling like, you know, I also used to feel really bound to notebooks. I had this one that I got at, like, a liquidation store. Like, my mom bought it for me because I had no fucking money. But the paper was really nice, and the cover was really flexible. It was just really satisfying notebook. And I got it and immediately was like, oh, I want more of these. And I couldn't find them because I got it from a liquidation store. So it's not like it was, like, everywhere just normally. I could find ones by the company, but they weren't really selling the one I liked easily. And I haven't checked recently, but like it was just not happening. So I just didn't use it. I just had this notebook that I absolutely loved, and I wrote like one page in it and then never touched it. And I brought it out recently because I decided I was going to use it. And when I opened it, I noticed the cover was cracking along the spine. And it was like it was getting really messed up just from me opening it. And it like was upsetting. It was totally upsetting because I had this attachment to this notebook from this certain point in my life. And I'd always had certain ideas about what I was going to do with it. And now, because it's like 10 years old, it's not in great shape anymore. And like, it's fine. I got some book repair tape and it looks really cute now because I did the like thing where you wrap the spine and you do the corners. It's adorable. But, you know, you can totally have those sort of like weird relationships with what is, it's just a notebook. It wasn't an expensive notebook. It's not like unique. Yeah.
But there is that thing though, like of the like, especially from a hobby aspect, and then also the like putting expectations on yourself aspect of like, well, these pages are blank now, and I have to use them efficiently.
That first page
and
fear.
yeah. Like I've done this thing for this purpose, and if I don't fulfill it, I'm gonna be disappointed.
Yeah.
And like I feel like I'll tend to do that, like especially in like Daiso or dollar store situations where I'm like, I'm gonna buy this like small notebook that I'm going to carry around with me and is going to do this specific thing, or like I'm going to buy this notebook just so I can write Final Fantasy fan fiction in it, and like this I've never caught up to my ambitions in that way usually. But you know, it's good to keep the dream alive, I guess. Or to like be honest with yourself at some point of being like, well, the one book that I have fits the needs that I have. There's the like idea of like efficiency versus like creativity, I guess, sometimes that you can get into with these things where it's like, you know, it just is what it is. You are who you are. You know what I mean?
There's also the like, there's a thing to it of just like the intention. Like there is something where notebooks in particular are pretty cheap and pretty abundant, and it's pretty easy to find one that is nice, that you enjoy looking at. Like there's so many varieties and whatever. It's so easy to just have one and to set it out for just like this intention of just like, you know, like the movie one or like the game notes or whatever. Like I've decided that this one is just for this, and that means I have the intention of like paying attention to these things, and I have somewhere to put these thoughts if I have them. And like maybe I play a bunch of games that I don't have any thoughts about whatsoever, and I don't write them down, and it's fine. But if I do have that one experience with that game where it's like, oh man, I wish I was still writing about games, I would say so much shit about this game. I need somewhere to put these ideas down just because I don't want to lose them. Like I've got that place for it, and there's like comfort to knowing like I have somewhere to place this. It's right there, and it's fine if I don't need it, but if I do, because I kept like, I sell this on Itch at the moment. I think is still for sale, but like for a year I kept a sort of art journal of the games that I played, and basically every single game I played, I would draw a little picture and write down some thoughts about it. And it was like a really fun experience. And doing it for a year was very informative and nice. And I can't do it anymore ever again. I'm done with doing that, and it's fine. I don't need to preserve my thoughts on every little thing. I understand that. I don't need to like, you know, because eventually it becomes a bit of an obstacle to actually just enjoying the thing, because you have to think like, what am I going to say about this? What I'm going to draw? Like, I have a backlog of pages I have to catch up on. Should I even be playing this at all, or should I just be doing that stuff? And like, it gets in the way. It's like there's like a really fine line between those things. But it's nice to still have like somewhere to put that stuff if you want to, like that's the bullet journal dream too, is that like you can pick and choose what works for you, or just not fucking bother.
Yeah, I feel like even if I wasn't like journaling like game experiences or like doing really heavy like diary type stuff, like the experience of like going through different layouts and being like, oh, this isn't what works for me, and what works for me is the thing that I'm capable of doing, like was important, and an experience that I'm glad that I had, and I'm probably gonna have to go through again as I get back onto the horse, so to speak.
Yeah.
I missed I learned what bullet journaling was like way after it seemed like the sort of craze had died down from you guys, I think, pretty sure.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember my first impression of it was like, oh my God, this is so much work just to get to having a notebook that they just sell. But there is the part of it, and again, part of it is like, it's like wrapped up in like a notebook culture thing, and that sort of thing can always get weird. But it's sort of like, yeah, it's all this work to get to having a notebook, but the work of it is like what people enjoy doing a lot of the time. Like, it's like, I think that there's probably a lot of people out there who saw bullet journaling and they were like, oh, this is what I want to do. Like, I don't want to journal. I want to make journal layouts.
Yeah. I feel like it's especially interesting with bullet journaling because we've been said bullet journaling a bunch without really explaining what it was. And I feel like it's moved away from what it started as when you made it, which was like a system of like bullet points. And then you would go through and you would either draw an X if you completed a thing, or you would draw like a little Pac-Man mouth if you were like going to move it to whatever. And like that was what like the bullet journaling like system was. And it was supposed to be this very bare bones thing, and like only
it got hyper
functionality.
tweetified.
Sure, it got tweetified, or it became a thing, I think, of people being like, oh well, if I'm going to be using a blank page anyway, I should be doing all of these other things, or I like the
now
aesthetic of
it's like
something.
a modular. It's like a modular, self-governed kind of planner / art / like whatever system where it's. I mean, it's weird because it's like a lot of it is you look. At least my impression of it, I don't really do bullet journaling. I like looking at the content, but I don't have the stick-to-itiveness for it. But there's a lot of like bullet journal inspiration stuff. It's like here's 5 ways to do your calendars or whatever, and a lot of it is like you sort of are in a tangible way like dragging and dropping. Like, okay, I like the look of that, but I want to mix it with this to-do list, and I want like this plant watering tracker, or this like savings thing. I want to do this thing where you draw a mason jar and you fill it up with your savings for the month, and like a lot of that stuff is very mimetic. Like it's meme like. It gets replicated a lot. It gets like, so it becomes this kind of thing where it's like very modular. It's not just about the list now with the X's and the whatever. It's about like, well, I really like so and so's way of tracking their meal plans. So I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to add that into my system. I'm going to shuffle these components around. It's fascinating, but also could not be me. Very admirable, but man, okay, that was like a deeper dive into the planners and notebooks than I was expecting.
Yeah, well,
to be honest, I feel like I should have expected it would be deeper, given the fact that as I painfully enumerated, I have like a half dozen or more notebooks just like sitting right here with purposes and all kinds of garbage attached to them. Why don't we move on
Sure.
to let's talk about decorative stuff. Let's talk about tape and stamps and stickers. I think Allie and I are maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, Keith, I don't know if you're a sticker guy.
No.
No.
Oh.
Me and Allie are I think I'm definitely more of a sticker person than Allie.
Sure. Yeah.
By volume, not necessarily by like willpower, but Allie actually gave me, I don't know if you remember this, Allie, but you gave me 2 sheets of stickers once that are to this day still, I've used up one of the sheets. They were my favorite stickers ever.
Really?
One sheet was a sheet of stickers of middle-aged men,
Oh, I
just like sitting around,
Okay.
like
That's not what I
anime
expected.
middle-aged men, like illustrated middle-aged men. And the other sheet was a sheet of like host club guys, like Japanese anime host club guys. I still have a few of them left because the old men were much more charming. But man, those were so good. Those were all time great.
I think.
Okay, here's the question.
Please go on. No, go on.
The question that I have is, how do you decide? Okay, wait. First, I have a supposition, and I need it to be confirmed or
Yeah?
denied.
Take your
Stickers
time,
are
yes.
Stickers are true or false. Stickers are
Adhesive?
entirely frivolous. Like they're not functional. You don't do something functional.
Well,
They're-
it depends because sometimes
Okay.
You have
you'll
like
get-
label stickers and stuff, right?
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
but we know that these stickers are of anime middle-aged men.
Yeah, and one of them could say today is Wednesday on it.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like that's how sometimes I use my stickers. Like I'll have the big sticker sheets of like a bunch of cats or rabbits holding cupcakes or whatever, and it's like I'm gonna write on this day that I want to bake a cake, and I'm gonna find the cake sticker, right? And that's functional to me. And then there's also like the capital F functional stickers that I've bought. I feel like I really don't use that often. Like sometimes you'll get like a sticker that is a transparent dot, and like you put the sticker on over a thing that you've written, and it's like you're using it as a highlighter. But in all of those cases, I've just like used a highlighter, right?
Yeah.
Or there's like bullet point stickers. I have a bunch of these that I got from Michael's of all places, actually. And like the ones
Nice.
that I've used are the ones that say like reminder or like paycheck or whatever, but not the ones that are like a bullet
It's like if you
point.
want a degree of tidiness but don't trust yourself to do it.
Right, yeah.
Or if you hate things that you do, which is an impulse that, so that sounds funny, but that's like a thing. That's an impulse I've had where I can look at someone else's, whatever, like circle, dot list, bullet list they made, and they're writing and be like, that looks cute. And then I make it basically the same, but the version that I made, I think looks bad. And it takes like a lot of skill, I think, to be able to recognize what's happening there, because it's not that yours looks bad. But whenever I have personally gone for the functional stickers, it's because I have not trusted myself to make a thing that looks good in that way. So I just kind of want to, again, like drag and drop something else to make it like look nice. Man, the underlying theme of this is that like planner stuff can be mentally sticky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's when I think of like those little dot ones and stuff, it's like there's a degree of tidiness that you want there that you don't trust yourself to execute. I think that's also kind of the same with like those dot markers, right? It's like you can make a dot with any fucking marker you want. No one's gonna stop you.
I had
But
the
the
thought.
dot marker does it perfectly.
Yeah, I'm not a big doodler. There were times when I would like I said, draw the groceries, or like I tend to do like hourly comic day, even though it's just a bunch of scribbles of
yeah.
myself with cat ears.
Yours are
but
good.
like
Shut up.
I
love yours.
Yeah, those are fun to do, even if I feel like an amateur. But when I'm drawing, it's in very specific use cases like that. But like with stickers, it's just nice to be like, oh, I've written all of these functional things. It's all this boring business stuff. But then on the day that I go to a concert, there's a sticker of a cat, right? It's like a little celebration for myself. And I look back at my journal and I was like, okay, yeah, that was a fun day. And it's nice to have like a little marker in that way. I am gonna pull up. I do have a set of. I bought myself a set of the Host Club guys, and I haven't used them yet, so I'm gonna pull them up on the screen. I got these
I wonder if I
specifically.
can find the old guys.
Oh my god, I vaguely remember the old guys. It was really funny. I specifically got these at like an import Japanese fashion store in Williamsburg, I think. But my sticker trick is Etsy. You can get like really interesting sticker sheets imported from Japan for like $2 to $3 each. Probably like up to $6 or $7 if you're going for like more involved ones. This brand is specifically Mindwave Ink, which I think if you search on Etsy you could probably find. But I've spent like hours digging through like Japanese stickers on on Etsy and people who are importing them for you. So that's where you want to look if you want to get the real obscure. Here's a bunch of Host Club guys pouring champagne into a pyramid of wine glasses.
I think stickers really like hit on the other big thing with stationery, which is that like because so much of it is so cheap, it is so easy to just like treat yourself a little bit. It's I think sort of the same impulse that like really fed like the nail polish boom and stuff like that, where it's like, well, this new thing I want and I'm really excited about happens to be $8. I can afford that. I can go for it. So like for me, I got really into stickers in elementary school, like most, I think, kids. I had a sticker book and things like that, and then fell off of it for a long time because I was not in elementary school anymore and did not have a sticker book and all that. But then in high school, a really cute shop opened up downtown that had like a bunch of bootleg anime DVDs and a couple flavors of Pocky back when like this shit was like illicit and hard to get your hands on. Not illicit, but like it was impossible to find any of this shit in the town that I lived in anywhere except like if you went to the one anime convention we had once a year in Toronto. And basically nothing in that store, because I had basically no money at the time, was affordable to me, but they had sheets of stickers. So it was a thing of like, I can go to this store and I can hang out and I can maybe get some Pocky and some stickers, and like that's my treat for the week, and like isn't that nice? And
I love
so
the idea of
doing
Janine
that-
hoarding illegal Pocky.
But doing that, I ended up with like this case full of like Japanese and Korean stickers, which I, like a lot of people in the chat have mentioned, couldn't bring myself to use. I just kind of hoarded them for a little while. I
Okay.
was trying to like learn a language, and I would use them as like a treat, like if I did really well on one of the like tests in the language book or whatever. But mostly I felt bad about using them, so I just didn't.
So I've
so
now
they just sat in
gotten
a case.
2 parts of an answer to my question
Uh-huh.
about that I didn't get to ask, by the way, which is where
Oh.
do you put a sticker? Because they
The
don't
planner.
do anything. Well, where in the planner do you choose to put a picture,
So this
and
is
why?
the thing that happened
And
is
so,
that like
Janine, your part of your answer was you don't. You keep them on the sheet.
no, I do
And-
now.
Okay, that's
Now I
good.
do, because that's the thing. The thing that happened was that I got more conscious about waste and about how much stuff I had, and the fact that I had all of these things that I liked, but I wasn't enjoying them. I wasn't like doing anything with them, and I wanted
Yeah.
to start enjoying the things that I had, because otherwise, what was the point of having them?
Well, and then
so I
Allie,
started
the thing that
using
Allie
them
said
in my planner.
was like you want to bake a cake that day, so you put a little sticker
You
of
celebrate
someone
it. It's
with
a
cake.
celebration.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like it makes it leap out. It makes it more special because you get to use this little marker on it. Like, you know, I'm better about using my stickers now, but like I have specific places that I tend to put them. I'll theme them with the tape that I'm using for my layout that week. I sometimes will use them as like little accents, just if there's an empty spot on the page, because then I don't want to feel like, oh, I should have done more and filled out that empty spot. It becomes a thing where it's like, oh, I put a bird there. Look how nice that bird is. Like it's just a nice little if it's, I mean, the thing is, like, if it's a thing that compels you, that like tickles you, then it's nice to see it, and it can have a positive effect when you look at it. If it's not a thing that compels you or tickles you, then it doesn't make sense and is just a weird thing on the page, right? Um, it depends.
Yeah.
I have a layout from a few weeks ago that was like, I used this sort of like peach lacy tape, and then I used these strawberry stickers for emphasis and the strawberry tape up the side and these little pink sticky notes for the dates. And like, I'm really proud of how that looks. And it's not art. Like, it's not a thing I can like put on the wall and be like, look how nice I did this. But it's a thing that I can look at and be like, that was really cute. I had a lot of fun making that. Look
Well,
at all
the other
these
thing about
strawberries.
art is that a lot of times you're putting up someone else's art on the wall, not your own. So stickers are just like that anyway.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like stickers were also a good holdover when I switched to the Midori stand diary from doing more involved bullet journal stuff. Because what I would do is to have like a sense of ownership over such a simple layout, I would take a Crayola fine tip and I would draw one color of the diagonal stripes on the calendar grid and then use an opposite color to do the horizontal one. So it's like, oh, I decorated this. And then on the days where it was like, because it's a calendar, you would have like, you know, a Monday or a Sunday or a Friday at the end of the month that would be this blank space. And I'm looking at one right now where I have a sticker of a cat resting on a pillow and a sticker of 3 trees. And this was December. And you know what? That was my fucking mood for December.
I know we're out of notebooks, but can I complain about my Midori notebook for
Oh
a
my
second?
God, please.
Mm-hmm.
It's my favorite size of notebook, which is B6.
Okay.
But Midori only makes things in B6 Slim, which is the already small B6 made narrower. And it is so obnoxiously narrow. I don't know why they have committed to this. It is such a bizarre size for something that is so satisfyingly sized to be like, this should be an inch thinner. It's too thin.
Is there like a certain website that you all would recommend for like going to like look at stuff? So if I just wanted to look at like notebooks and stuff.
Yeah, I would go to JetPens.
We're all gonna say JetPens, I think, probably.
Yeah.
Keith, I don't know, but
I've been on JetPens for like
JetPens
14 years.
Yeah,
Well, maybe not
JetPens is
14.
great because they have this commitment to. Well, okay. So the thing I'll say is that there's a Canadian website for any Canadians who are listening to this that I'm really really into right now, because it's this shop that's based in, I want to say, Cambridge, called Phaidon Pens, and they're kind of, I think they were originally just like a sort of prestige pen shop, but they're kind of angling towards JetPens, and if JetPens shipping is off-putting to you, Phaidon is really nice. They have a lot of the same stuff. I do a lot of, but the thing that I'll do even when I'm shopping on Phaidon is, I should spell that Phidon. But even when I'm shopping there, I will tend to go to JetPens first because JetPens has a lot of really good videos and like lists and comparisons and guides.
Yeah,
So
they have
a
these
list
huge
for, like,
explainers for
Yes,
specific
yeah.
items.
They'll be like, so you want a black gel pen or whatever. Here's the differences between all these different pens. Here's all these different like priorities or whatever. Like, do you want a thick nib or a thin nib? Like, they'll help you, not just, they won't just like tell you what has what, but they'll help you figure out what matters to you. Like, they'll say, you know, do you like a thicker line, or do you like a pen that feels a little bit drier, you know, and they'll sort of walk you through all that stuff in a way that's like really helpful. They also tend to sell little bundles, like sample kits, not sample kits, but like they'll sell like a bundle of like, okay, you want a black pen. Here are our 8 top selling black pens. If you really, really, really want to find your favorite black pen, here's 8 of them. Go nuts. And it'll, you know, that'll be like $14 or whatever, because it's pens. That stuff's great. It's just like a great all around resource.
I also feel like they're the best retailer in terms of doing swatches for pens, in terms of like, this is what it looks like if you're doodling a line. This is what it looks like if you're writing. where
Here's the
like
bleed proof. Here's the smudge proof. Here's the
right, yeah, yeah,
waterproof
yeah.
test.
Where like the other way to get that, because like Michaels and Blick.com or anything like that will tend not to have those things. And the other
Mhm.
places I would have to find that is like a YouTube video of someone talking for
Yeah.
30 minutes and then the lighting is bad by the time that they're still watching it. And it's like, come
Yeah.
on, man.
I have
Yeah.
nothing to back this up with right now, but I do have a vague memory of being annoyed with their fountain pen ink swatches. I don't know. I
Okay.
don't remember why, but I remember feeling like they're not good. And I don't remember why. Maybe I should look and
I
see.
think that fountain pen swatches more than any other kind of pen swatch depend so much on the paper that like I can buy that it maybe wasn't for
Yeah.
whatever reason
Okay.
wasn't quite what you needed it to be, you know?
I think it's just that the writing doesn't look real.
Oh,
I mean, they
Oh.
definitely have people that are on their payroll who write nice for their videos. Like
Uh-huh.
that's their primary role. Um I
You know
like
what?
that their
I'm
videos
looking
have
at it
turned
now,
yeah.
and it looks like they bump the like pop slider, like an over sharpen,
Oh.
and so it looks kind of synthetic. Like I know that this ink doesn't look like this. Here,
Mm.
like that's too sharp. Like I know that it's not like that.
I
I mean,
don't know actually. Well,
you don't
yeah,
think
maybe
that's
a little
like,
I don't
bit.
have this exact. I just went to the front page of the fountain pen ink. I don't have. I have other.
This
Uh,
looks like they're using a flex nib pen and like the tines are like separating when they press down certain ways and like I think
yeah,
this might
yeah.
just be that it looks weird for various reasons.
Um, I think it's. I think that they. I think that these are manipulated. I think that they're.
wow.
wow.
I mean, they might also sharpen, I don't know.
Slander.
Yeah.
I mean, another thing I like about jet pens is like they've been doing more and more videos on their YouTube channel where it's like we're just going to talk to the people who work here about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And in those videos people they'll straight up be like, "Yeah, I don't like this pen. I don't like this one." They did one where they're testing out like mini pens, like wallet-sized pens. And the number of times that the people and they were just like, "I just don't like writing with this at all," was nice considering they're selling
Nice,
all
yeah.
of those.
Yeah.
The link to them is in their description, but they're being honest about like, if I needed a pen in my wallet, I guess I would pick this one because what else am I going to do? But also, I'm not going to use this as my daily writing thing.
That is a weird crossover between pen people and the EDC people who
Oh,
for some
yeah.
reason are obsessed with pretending that they need a pen in their wallet. Like small wallets
Well, but what if
Yeah.
you have
tiny
to write
mini
something?
pen. Have a different pen somewhere. Don't have a bad wallet because you have to stuff a too small pen. It ruins the wallet and the pen.
Mm.
But
And
I
it's
need
fake.
to carry
No,
this pen every day, Keith.
Just have like a keychain.
I will
pen.
go like day to
Ooh,
day.
okay, keychain pen, actually.
Keychain pen, much better choice.
Necklace pen.
Yeah.
Ooh.
You know what I used to love?
Yeah.
I used to have keychain Sharpies.
Oh,
Oh, I remember those.
wow.
Yeah.
And they had a cap, but then they also had a secondary cap so that you could take them off of the keychain super easy because they plugged right into the
I think I was using these when I worked at Best Buy and I was carrying like the like office keys around regularly. I had a keychain pen.
I think there's a lot of generations and places that went through a Sharpie phase.
Unsung hero, Sharpie.
I love
Mhm.
Sharpie.
Sharpie also like not the word if you want alcohol markers. I mean, the dollar stores now are starting to stock alcohol markers, but like when I was first like, I don't know if I want to fuck around with non-water based markers for art. And I also don't want to spend $6 a marker. You can do worse than a set of those colorful Sharpies. Like it's not the best, but if you just want to fuck around a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
they're okay. They're not bad.
I do want to say while we're on our sticker
Mhm.
decorative thing, and we're getting close to our hard out. We do need like a 5-minute washi time. Um,
Okay,
wash.
yeah, I don't even know what this is.
I
I
use
don't know
washi
what
tape.
washi
Yeah.
tape
You don't know
is.
what washi tape
I hear
is?
people talk about it all the
Oh.
time. I don't know what it is. This is me
So
being vulnerable and
please,
saying I
Trey,
don't know.
yes. I'm gonna hold your hand. Let's get into what washi tape is. Washi tape is like basically like painter's tape, I guess, but it's
This is gonna
made.
make Keith so mad if
Okay.
Keith thought stickers were useless.
I have washi tape, and I have a very practical use for it.
Oh, okay,
I
yeah.
think I've mentioned it on Friends of the Table before, but I have 3 rolls of Star Wars washi tape that I
Okay.
use to hold shut the slip covers on my Star Wars comic books.
Oh,
Oh.
wow.
It is great for that because
It's very
normal tape,
delicate.
it's very
It's
delicate, it's
delicate
very
tape.
easy to remove and replace, and
Mhm.
normal tape destroys those covers. I mean, it
Yeah.
ruins them. So unless you're like taking a knife to it and slicing it every time you want to open a thing, then you're ruining a cover every time you take a comic book out. But the washi tape's like very removable and doesn't really lose that much stickiness for being removed and replaced like
Yeah.
that. So it's great. It's great for that. I invented this. I didn't see this somewhere. I had a genius
Mhm.
idea. I went from
Patent that
having
shit.
0 washi tape and 0 uses for washi tape to an epiphany, 3 rolls, and it's genius. I'm a genius. Thank you.
Sure.
Good night.
That's what I heard.
But you've hit on all the things of like why people use
Yeah.
washi tape, which is that it's like it's a little waxy. It's something that you can draw on if you need to. It will
Paper, I guess, is maybe an important thing to also mention, is that
right,
at least
yeah.
classic washi tape is like not the Scotch like classic plastic tape. It is like paper with an adhesive. Sometimes kind of plasticized now, especially, but
Yeah, it's often really decorative. You can get like indie washi tapes. You can get I'm partial to MT washi tapes, and we'll get into that.
yes,
And
Mizutama.
so the thing that you two
good
use
adhesive
it
on those.
for would be like to make like a border or something like
Yeah,
on paper, or just to
basically.
be like, I just want like these swirls, these nice swirly colored swirls. I want a line of swirls on this page. Or
Basically,
something.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm holding in my hand a pair of Kiki's Delivery Service washi tapes that Jack and
Hell
Katie
yeah.
recently got for me. And like, sometimes my March mood is just gonna be all of these little pictures of Gigi with flowers on the bottom of my page.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna look at it, it's the thing that I want. I have a layout on my bullet journaling where it was this page that I was writing down like all of my travel plans because I was like flying to California that month, and I was like, here's my flight number, here's when I'm flying out, and on the edge of that is a piece of washi tape that looks like a marathon track.
Nice.
So it is a sticker format in terms of just being like, this is a decorative element to what I'm doing, but the flexibility that you were talking about in terms of like, I can put this on a page and I can lift it up if I want to like realign it. I could use this. I see a lot of people use it for like, if they are doing watercolors or like sketches or painting in their notebook, it's like a really easy way to like force those lines and then pick it up. A lot of people,
Especially because like traditional masking tape will often like tear the paper.
right? Yeah.
Even painter's tape and gum tape and all that stuff is kind of a pain in the ass.
A lot of
It's a nice
people,
way to contain
Oh,
everything.
it's like an order of magnitude more delicate of an adhesive than.
yeah, absolutely. What
Like
people,
a bit stronger than a post-it note.
yeah,
Yes, yeah. It's stronger than a post-it note, but less than painter's tape. Closer to a post-it note.
I have specifically used washi tape to hang up a bunch of prints in my living room, which was sort of a learning curve, but why I recommend MT tape so much, because that was the only tape that like really held up to what
Yeah.
I needed
Okay.
it for. I'm about to put a picture up on the YouTube. This was when I first put all of this stuff up, and I will say that like New York is a humid place, so like some of the pages are getting like a little warped because they're like puffing out because the air behind it is getting really hot, I think. And print from Society 6 will curl too much to stay on my wall, but empty tape strong enough to keep everything out up there. To do this sort of layout in my room before, I was using thumbtacks, but I wasn't putting it through the paper. I was like using the edge of the thumbtacks to like keep things up. But then I
Like
moved,
friction.
right, yeah, and then I moved out of my parents' house to a place that I put a security deposit on, and I was like, I am not using all these thumbtacks on this fucking wall. So shout out to Washi Tape and to all of the artists who can maybe recognize their work here or not.
I'm also I'm a big fan of empty washi tapes for the design and also the adhesive, like Ali said. My favorite brand, I really love the Washi Station, which is an independent sort of it's a place that sort of makes tapes with independent artists and does like themed collections. I want to say they did like a big collection of like Southeast Asian island sort of based designs with artists, and they've done like winter themes and Halloween themes. And the caveat I would say there is that like I really don't think their adhesive is quite there. It's not, it's just like a little bit, it's like the rolls don't quite stay glued when I have them in storage, but the designs are just so good that like I'm willing to look past it, you know? They're just real cute.
Right. Yeah, there's some things like with Keith's use case, you want like a tape that's going to stand up to it, but like if it's if it's basically a piece of paper that's going to sit on a notebook and the notebook is going to be closed half the time anyway.
I don't mind gluing the edges, you know?
Right.
I'm not above it.
Whoa.
Yeah. Washi tape is dangerous though because it is that sort of frivolous thing of like, well, it's a fun and cute design and I like this artist, so I'm going to buy this thing. And it's like, you know, you've used it twice and you have all of these rolls of washi tape. And it's like, man, I get around that by having a very small storage system for my washi tape. And I look at it and I say, I cannot own any more of these. So
No
I tried to downsize my washi tape storage by getting the bobbin system on jet pens, which is like a bunch of little teeny tiny tape rolls and like a little crank operated machine, and you put your roll of tape in there and you put your bobbin in there and then you wind the tape onto the bobbin, and it all seemed really great and it's like really cute to use as a machine, but it only works for very specific widths of tape. And the thing that I realized real quickly was I actually didn't have that much tape in that exact width. So it did not really work out the way I thought it would. It was a nice effort though.
My very illustrative thing that I did is I have the 3 different tapes and there are 3 different colors, and one of them is like gray themed, one of them is red themed, and one of them is like orange themed, like the kind of orange like on the Rebel like Starfighter jackets.
Oh, sure.
And I was like, okay, I'll use these for the 3 different eras of comic books that I have. The High Republic stuff, the movie era, and then the post original trilogy era. And every time I go to tape up more books, I have forgotten which color I use for which. I'm positive about... No, I'm not even positive about one. I'm pretty sure about one of them, and then the other 2 I can never get straight because I had the thought the first time I used it, well, I'll use the orange for the post-original trilogy because it's the same color as BB-8. But then I thought, well, that's confusing because it's also the same color as the Rebel Starfighter jackets. Yeah. And then I made a decision which one went where, and I can never remember it to this day. I always have the discussion back and forth of which. And then I think that I landed on gray makes more sense for original trilogy. So that's where gray goes. Orange can go in either, but gray can only go original trilogy.
We need to find you like a good Star Wars fan artist who makes washi tape so you can be like, okay, these This is my
bet
Chewbacca
there's
washi
official
tape.
stuff.
Yeah. I know that Chewbacca is from the movie era, so I'm gonna put Chewbacca on this. My Kylo Ren tape is gonna be used for this, and my Yoda
Allie,
tape.
but what if I confuse Chewbacca with the High Republic era Jedi Wookiee?
Well, because you would know you would have Yoda for the High Republic era because he's
Yoda's
like a
in,
good...
well, but Yoda's in both. Yoda's in all three.
Well, oh, sure. But
There
yeah.
is Star Wars. There is Star Wars washi tape on Etsy. There's a lot of it actually.
I believe
Yeah, that
it.
makes
About
sense.
that.
Actually, this is the what I exactly have. I have these three on the
okay,
left.
well-
That's what I have.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Let me open this up. I love these. These do look really good. The orange one is so nice.
Yeah, the orange one's my favorite. Do I not have this one that's like the squares? Do I have a different one? I could have sworn I had one that was more gray. Or maybe this black is coming across more black and looks actually more gray.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much more we have to do, but I have to run.
Oh, okay.
I don't. I mean, keep going though.
Yeah, I'm also getting close to that point as well.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
I think we're probably. So I think Allie and I might want to gush about organization a bit.
Yeah,
but
That's why I've
perhaps.
never
we are right
organized
at the
anything in
end
my
of
life, so that's totally fine.
Yeah, same.
it. Good, great.
Again, as illustrated, every time I try to organize something, I just forget about how I wanted it to go. Yeah, but that's it. That's all I got.
Thank
on
you so
Washi
much for
Tape.
joining us, Keith.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, that
yes.
was a blast.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about it. People should look at all the weird fountain pennings that they have out there. They're weird.
Okay.
They make some really weird ones.
Yeah. The what was
That's
the
where it's
the,
at. Fountain pens are pretentious, but fountain pen ink is just cool.
Okay.
Yeah, there's like a
Okay.
color shifting one that we both have. You having it finally pushed me over the edge, and I put it in my.
Oh,
Christmas
the
list and got it.
sailor ones. Is that
Yeah.
yeah.
I think so. The is
Ones
it
are
Nike?
the
Or
square.
no,
I have the Manyo Haha and the Sakura. Those
right.
are the
I
two that
have the Manyo Neko Yanagi.
Okay, that's the
From
one that I
Sailor.
almost
Ooh.
got and then got the Haha instead.
The haha is cute.
Yeah. I
Anyway,
thought that the purple wouldn't be as visible for actually writing stuff with.
This is gorgeous.
They're beautiful.
It's really nice. It's fun. It's very fun.
Yeah, they're doing wild stuff.
I got one. The other one I got two fountain pennings for Christmas. I got this one, and then I got, where is it? Emeraude de Chivard, from, I want to say this is J. Herbin. Yeah. And it's like a deep emerald green with gold flecks in it.
Oh
Like
yeah.
gold glitter.
I don't have
Like a
any of the
special
ones
limited
with the
edition one with a
particulate.
seal on it. Yeah, I was worried because you're not supposed to necessarily put that stuff in fountain pens unless it's specifically
Ooh.
guaranteed to be good for it because it has to
Yeah.
go through the feed and
And even if they are guaranteed for it, they do get kind of gummed up. They
yeah,
do
you
gum
need
up
to
the works
be
a bit.
vigilant about cleaning when you're using
Yeah.
it.
But yeah, I love those. Those are two of my favorites. They're a blast. They're also they're pricey. There's some really good, really cheap stuff out there.
You get a lot of ink though when you buy. Like that's the thing is it's
You get a
expensive,
ton.
but it's
Yeah, you get
you're
a
never
ton.
gonna finish that bottle.
No. Don't say that while I'm looking at all these.
Someone has to say it.
Yeah.
I'm saying it to
Um,
myself right now.
Yeah. All right. I gotta run.
Bye.
I
Bye.
do too. Thanks, you all.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
thanks
go-
for joining us.
Anybody that watches Run Button stuff, we are starting Shenmue 3 today.
Oh hell yeah!
Ooh. Have fun.
So
Good
I'm
luck.
I'm really really
Oh.
excited to start Shenmue 3. Okay, bye.
Jerry, any final? Oh, Jerry's already gone.
Already gone. Fucking booked
Fair
it because we gotta
enough.
talk about organizing stuff.
I don't feel like I have a lot to say on this because I feel like the stuff that I've used for organizing is like boxes that I've repurposed. And shout
Yeah.
out to repurposing boxes.
Shout out to repurposing boxes.
Are
I'm a big fan
you-
of covering a box with contact paper to make it look different.
Yeah, I actually
Uh,
literally did that on the box that I have all of my pens in right now. I bought
Yeah.
I bought spice jars that were empty, and then obviously was like in a cardboard box with cardboard dividers in it. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna keep this and put all of my pens in it.
Uh-huh.
And then I bought like an art print from an artist who sent it along with like really nice like purple and white like checkered paper. So I took that and I taped it
Oh, I
around the
love
cardboard
that.
box, and it looks good. And then all of my washi tape is in a Royce Chocolates empty coconut cookie box that's Halloween themed. I had one for like 3 years, and then they had a new design. I switched it out for the new one. So another 3 years, I'm going to be hitting up Royce Chocolate at Halloween to get a new washi tape box.
I'm like, I use all the big boring plastic containers at this stage because like
Yeah.
I have enough stuff that I need out of my way, but also I need it sorted to a degree. Like, you can get these plastic containers that are sort of, there's a handle on top, and there's like a top section and a bottom section, and like a lid, and the lid snaps off, and then the top section snaps off. And I use sort of half of one of those for my washi tape, and the other half is like markers and stuff. And yeah, I'm like a big fan of the. What is the brand on these? It just says Infinite Divider System. What is the fucking brand on these? It's like these plastic containers that come with little dividers that you can adjust to however big you need the compartment to be. So for pencils and stuff, I can divide it and be like, I'm going to put the erasers here and pencils here and pens here and ink here or whatever. What the fuck
Are
these?
you very particular about like which way you put your pens on your desk? Because I know that like some people say like you can't put them top to bottom.
I
because...
looked that up this week. Jet Pens had a video about it.
Okay.
And I was like, I need to know. And I'm not happy with the answers I got.
Wow.
So I think it said that gel pens you want to keep tip down because otherwise the ink might flow away from the point. But I feel like when I store gel pens tip down, they get clogged. So I'm not happy with that answer necessarily. I think fountain pens you're supposed to store on their side so they don't leak but also dry out. But I might, again, no, I'm wrong about that. They want you to store those tip up so they don't leak.
I guess because the
markers,
ink is...
they want you to store horizontally so that the tips don't dry out. I still feel like it's not that cut and dry, you know? I just feel like it's not as simple as that.
Yeah, I keep everything on their side with the like color marker, like the cap or whatever, the bottom facing out, just because it's important for me to have things be accessible.
Yeah. I think generally side is like the least contentious either way.
Right, yeah.
I think tip up or tip down, you get into some stuff, but like it seems like side isn't going to do any harm necessarily. I couldn't see any stuff that's like, but if you store it on its side, this will happen. It's more like if you store it tip down, it'll leak, or if you store it tip up, it'll get dry, or that kind of thing. The stuff that I have accessible on my desk, I usually need it to be tip up or tip down because I don't have the sideways storage. I use a lot of like, you know those little jars that Paris Cafe puts the pudding stuff in?
I
the, like,
do.
flan and whatever.
I
I have
do.
a couple of those that I use for like brushes and things like that. I have like a shorter similar kind of thing that I use for like the stuff I'm using for my planner. I have like a bunch of those just out that I tend to store stuff in because I want to just grab it. But every time I do that, I'm aware like this probably isn't good for this thing that I have in here. Like maybe this should be sideways or whatever. But
I would do sort of the same thing though, but back when I was really journaling, I had like an L-shaped desk where I would have like my computer and my monitor stuff in front of me, and then I would have all the journaling stuff on the opposite L. And I moved into my apartment. I had this tiny desk that was super cluttered with like my notebooks and my pens and my speakers and my microphone all on this like tiny desk, and it was not working. So I now have like a shelf that is like next to my desk that I'm now gonna put all of my stuff on. But I would have the thing of like, here's my box of pens that is there, but here's the like little cute container for my pens of the month. Like
Yeah.
it would be nice
Um,
to sort of bring them into the special zone if they were the monthly pens.
yeah, I didn't mention these, but like some of my favorite pens to use right now have to exist outside of all of my systems because they come with this like clicky base.
Oh.
The Uni Emot pens.
Oh, I think I've
They
heard of
come,
these.
yes, they have like a little like Lego kind of click system where it's like they come with a little base and they click in a way that's like really satisfying. Um, but it means I can't bring myself to put them in the boxes with my other shit or to put them in the pen cups with my other shit. I have to keep them in the clicky bases. And I have 3 little 5-packs of them now because I didn't want to invest in a whole set if I didn't know if I'd like them.
Sure.
But I ended up liking them, so I've got other little 5 sets. And now I just have these like little 5 brick things that I can't like, the holders themselves don't connect together, which they should.
Oh
Um,
no.
so they're just kind of like, I love them, but also they're kind of a burden. Um,
These look so cool though. I get it.
they're really nice. I enjoy them.
But at the same time, like if I had a pen that I liked with a jar that I liked, like it's serving the same purpose as this like very specific designed thing, right?
Yeah, I think this is meant for someone. There's like a minimalism to this where it's like I can recognize this is meant for someone who has made more deliberate choices than I have, right? Where like they need a 5-pen system or whatever, and that's all they need. Um,
Yeah.
and I envy them that, but that's not the life that I live. So I just have a bunch of these kind of hanging out, just squished into a corner to keep them mostly from falling all over the place, but could be better.
I also will shout out for organization. A thing that I moved onto is Muji has these really nice like stacking, sort of flat and like 1 inch-ish tall, like storage containers that nest into each other. So I have, and they come in different like heights. So I have one that's like the height of like 2 of the smaller ones together that I have all of my stickers in because it's just this giant pile of stuff. And then I have the thinner ones where it's like one has like a pencil case and one has like my different checkbooks and stuff. And
Oh, sure.
I know with like more like professional settings or like with things that you really need to have access to, like stacking containers is not a good idea. You should invest in drawers because like having to lift them up and down will just become so inconvenient over
Yeah.
time. But like for like this big thing of stickers, which I'm really only going to use like once a month, really, or the checkbooks, which I'm only going to use when I have to pay my rent, is like, it's nice to have these like compact and they're like very aesthetically pleasing because they're this nice like plastic that's kind of see-through, but like also sort of like cloudy enough that like, you know, it just looks nice on my desk, and they're pretty cheap. They
Yeah.
were all like, the smaller ones are like $3 and the bigger one is like $7.
I think like whatever works, right? Like
Right, yeah.
if the system works for you, then good. If it's falling short, then you gotta fix it. Like that kind of thing wouldn't necessarily work for me because I don't typically like having. Well, I have a lot of shit on my desk, but like it all has to be shit that I can just grab it.
Yeah.
Storage stuff that I can't just grab the thing from tends to be something I want to tuck away out of sight. So in that situation, like for me, the rolling IKEA drawer storage units are great because it just fits under my desk because I have so much. I have like a big, unnecessarily large desk, and I can just kind of like roll it into the corner and it just disappears when I don't need it. And when I need it, I just pull it out and it's a little drawer unit. Like, it's perfect. It serves the need. But like, if I needed something I could grab stuff out of more regularly, that would not work at all. Oh, there was one thing I was going to mention in this organization section. I have to find it now. In terms of sticker storage,
Ooh.
I love. I gotta find them. They're on Jet Pens, of course. It's the Jam Studio sticker albums.
Oh, I really wanted one of these and have not.
It's fucking worth it. So, I mean, obviously the thing is when you put stickers in it, it's going to get really bulky and not as pretty and compact as it is when it's empty.
Oh my God, these are so
But
pretty
before this,
too.
I was just using like single photo albums for the same thing, basically like putting sticker sheets in the photo album slots. And it's just nice having something where it's like, this is long enough for a standard sheet of like, you know, the sort of like standard Korean, Japanese sticker sizes.
Mm-hmm.
It just fits in. You can just flip through it. Like, it's fantastic. It's better than like, you know, for years, all my stickers I had in these kind of like ad hoc organizational solutions, like plastic cases and whatever. And it is sometimes just nice to get something that's like purpose made and like it just works. It just does exactly what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, I like that these are like you tuck in the sticker sheets like it is a photo album and not what I've seen
Yeah.
of like, here's a book with like a type of plastic paper that isn't gonna make the sticker adhere to it, and you're gonna remove
Yeah.
the sticker from the thing and put it onto here, which like in theory is also really good, but just something that seems like too risky and like also too fussy to be like, I'm gonna sit down with my 20 sheets of paper and I'm gonna figure out which of them I'm gonna put on this little layout, as opposed to like, oh, here's basically like a folder, like an accordion folder for these things.
And it has like the little envelope on the back where you can put like any like flake stickers or loose things. That's where I keep my friends at the table related stickers. Go in the pouch in the back.
Oh yeah. I also
Pseudonym says I've used the King Jim sticker books. I think I might be wrong. I need to see if they also King Jim. Okay, yeah, they're similar. Yeah, the King Jim one has like an opaque cover, but it's a similar idea.
Oh, sure.
I like this because it looks like you can. Well, maybe not. Never mind. I was gonna say it looked like you could adjust the number of pages, but I realize that's the elastic. It has sort of the Midori Traveler style elastic closure.
Oh,
I kind of like the look of these more, to be honest with you.
these
but
are so cute though, with the little notch in the middle.
They also make. I know King Jim makes a washi tape organizer, but I haven't bothered because it's not that. Cool when I can just look at all my tape and it's right there anyway. I tried doing washi tape like swatching, and it just, I don't know, not for me. You know, it's gonna work for other people, but not necessarily for me.
Yeah, in terms of washi tape storage though, is something that you put me onto, which is like, if you like a roll of washi tape and you want it to be accessible, like wrapping some of the tape around like a credit card or like a smaller piece of cardboard or whatever, so you have this like, here's this collection of washi tape.
That's like my favorite trick for like, you know, in my work notebook or whatever, I'll keep certain kinds of tape that I like using for emphasizing things and a little card in the pocket in that notebook, and then I just have it there.
It's also really
and
good.
It's also like,
for
go ahead.
well, for like gifting someone half of a roll,
Yes,
right?
I was gonna say you gave me a bunch of Kiki's Delivery Service washi tape.
Oh, that's right.
For example, I still have it. I still have a lot of it. I use it, but I still have it. I also, you know, in January when I visited with KB and Jack and Austin, we like did a gift exchange, and it was like I put a little card together of some of my favorite washi tapes from Washi Station, the independent artist sort of producing tape stuff, and like gifted that to KB because it was like, well, I know that KB kind of likes this stuff too, and they might appreciate these designs. And like, yeah, and it's just nice to be able to do that. It's just handy.
Yeah, when it's something that you like collect in that way and that you've bought because you like sort of like the design of it, it's nice to be able to like share it
And you
with
have a
people
ton of
in that
it,
way.
like-
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like, because unlike a sheet of stickers where you can see the end of it, you cannot see the end of a roll of washi tape. So it's really easy to just be like, you know, I know someone who would like this. Let me just give them like a couple feet of it, and they'll
Right.
have fun and enjoy it.
Yeah, there's such a big range on Washi Station.
Yeah, that's part of why I love it. They do stickers and stuff now too. They do note paper. They work with like a bunch of different artists. Oh, that's the one I have in my planner this week. The Birds of Southeast Asia. You scrolled. I was on the stream.
Oh,
It's a
here
little
it
bit above
is.
now, but yeah,
Oh,
I
this
did
is so
that.
cute.
I mixed that with like a black and white striped tape for the top and bottom, and then put that along the sides, and then used a like big pheasant sticker in the corner.
I love it.
Yeah.
Is that it? Do we have more things to
That
talk
might be it. We like really went into it.
We really did.
Oh, my other washi tape storage tip that I use. I use old paper towel rolls or tinfoil rolls to stack the washi on, and then I tie around it with a ribbon to hold it all in place. So it's just in these like sticks, basically, so I can just grab the stick that has what I want on it. Instead of having a bunch of loose rolls. The tinfoil tubes only really work if the diameter of the roll itself like fits on there. But a paper towel tube, you can like cut the length of it and then just sort of squeeze it, and it'll just be whatever size you need it to be.
That makes sense. That's genius.
And the ribbon just keeps the ones on the end from falling off.
Oh, sure, yeah. Huh.
That's my hot tip. That's my hack.
Thank you.
Life hack.
I just keep them, like I said, I keep them in a cookie box sort of laid out, displayed really nicely, so I could just pull out a single roll and then also be like, I am at capacity.
You know, I could use a little more of that. A little more awareness that I'm at capacity. Personally.
Sure.
But yeah, I think that might be it. Any last topics?
I think that might be everything. I have a lot to think about. I either need to buy a new planner or a new notebook and just start doing the damn thing again.
Yeah.
This has been informative though.
I wonder if the thing you might need is like those layout stamps.
Oh,
Or you
sure.
can
I've
just
never gotten into
stamp and
stamps
be
because
like-
stamps also seem
I
like something
know,
that's just too fussy.
Yeah. And I feel like I don't have I get sick of things so fast that having like a big block thing where it's like, well, I've used this 5 times and I want to break from it now. It feels like a thing that you can not get away with as easily when you're into stamps. It feels like you need to use that stuff a lot more.
Right, yeah. It feels like such a commitment of a thing. And like it's the same thing with stickers where it's like, oh, I have these 30 stickers of this rabbit. Like it's the same sort of thing where there's going to be repetition
Yeah.
with that, or like the investment that a washi tape would be where it's like you're reusing those for a lot of different layouts. So it's not like I don't understand the purpose of it. It's just like the storage of it would take so much more space than these other things that I use. And then you worry about the ink and it's just like I'm not ready for it. It's not a bridge that I'm ready to cross yet. But there are like some amazing different stamps out there, and especially like just the like, you know, Monday through Friday stamps or like a big stamp of like a funny bird or whatever. Like there's as much variation with that as there is like stickers and stuff. So it is a world of stationery that
Bird related stationery has gotten a lot of play in this stream.
birds get a lot of play and friends at the table, so you know.
True. We're fans. We're fans.
But
So yeah, I've been Janine Hawkins. I'm at Bleating Heart on Twitter. Allie, where can people find you?
You can find me over at Allie_West on Twitter, and you can find the show over at friends_table.
And also, we were going to do a shout out here for. I need to make sure I get their
Yeah,
Twitter right.
I have it on Twitter.
Oh, good.
I'm about to pull it up. So our friends Michael and Cameron over at Range Touch are doing a charity theme today. They're streaming Elden Ring. I believe Austin is going to be streaming with them at 11 p.m. tonight, is what he
Yes,
said.
That's true.
But they're doing that right
Streaming
now,
Elden Ring.
and we just wanted to make sure that for the people who've been hanging out with us and maybe want to go watch something else, that they can head over to twitch.tv/Range Touch to just have another place to hang out on Saturday.
Yeah.
I don't know the charity that they're raising for.
It's the. Is it the Bridget Project?
I think so.
I was watching earlier today and I've forgotten. My mind is now just full of like the Bridget Alliance,
Okay.
which is a charity that basically covers things like travel expenses and childcare and stuff for people who are seeking abortions and need to travel for it. So a very noble cause, and it's also one that they, as they pointed out in the stream when I was watching, charities like Planned Parenthood or causes like Planned Parenthood have these massive budgets already. But they mentioned the annual budget for the Bridget Alliance is like $1 million. So it's the kind of thing where the amount of money, like any amount of money that can be given and raised, is like making a direct and material and like a massive impact on the services they can provide and the help they can offer.
Yeah. So if you're looking for something to do, go check that out. Shout out to them.
The highlight so far for me personally was when they raised a necessary amount of money to make Michael eat a whole orange, peel and all. And there's video of it, and it's funny because he didn't enjoy doing it.
Sure.
And that's why it's funny.
I wouldn't want to do that.
No, me neither. I think maybe like if you boiled it or something first, it'd be less.
If you boiled
soften up.
it.
Well, you get halfway to like candied orange peel is a thing.
Oh,
Really,
sure,
like
sure,
halfway
sure.
to marmalade.
Yeah. Well,
Not necessarily the spirit of the challenge, though.
no. Well, that's gonna do it for
Well, of course, thanks to Dre and Keith for joining us in the bulk of this and offering some good perspectives, some good talk.
Bye, everybody.
Feels satisfying.